It's Monthly Mormon Mondays. It's time for the secret handshake. Tune in and reach through the veil. It's time for Monthly Mormon Monday.
Wake up, it's another Monthly Mormon Monday, and we're actually doing it on a Monday for the first time in months. This is Paranoid American here. That's Heidi Love over there from Unfiltered Rise. How you doing, Heidi?
Good. Welcome to Family Home Evening, your first one ever.
I just learned about that last night when I was doing some research, and I was just trying to find an older episode of ours, and I just kept Googling Monthly Mormon Monday instead of going to wherever the hell the link was, and that was the first result. It was like a Reddit thread, and it said something about when is the taboo gonna go away when we get Monday nights back again. And I was wondering, like, what the hell? So what does this actually mean? Are Mormons not allowed to go outside on Monday nights?
Well, that's not it. It's just that they keep you. Remember how I said you're very busy when you're a Mormon, and on Mondays it's Family Home Evening. Now they've changed it a little, and they say you can do it anytime, now any day of the week. But everybody is stuck on it because it's been this way forever. That Monday night is Family Home Evening night, so you stay home and you do, some family activity, and usually not involving TV or anything like that. It's usually like a teaching about God thing, and so yep, you got to stay home with your parents.
How is that? I mean, I'm asking genuinely here. How is that any different than any other night in a Mormon household? I assume that after dinner, they just bring out the Bible or the Book of Mormon and then just read from it, no?
No, this is more like an actual topic, and they bring everyone together. And most of the time in Mormon households, it's super busy and kids are running everywhere, and the little ones are doing little people things and the big ones are doing big. So it's always busy. And so this is a night that they usually want you to be all together. And then it used to be like, then women's meeting is Tuesday, and on Wednesday it's your activities for mutual, which is the teenagers. And then, then there's priesthood meeting. Then you got to go visiting, teaching. There's so many things. So yeah, you just got to stay busy all the time. Just
you're making it sound almost like it was a podcast.
Right. It is
worse like a family podcast, a bad family podcast about kind of what we're doing right now. So maybe what we're doing is
we are teaching.
Family. Yeah, we're teaching. We're talking about Mormonism, and it's Monday night. So I was joking when you brought that up, but does this mean that I'm somewhat a Mormon? Am I like
5% more? Yeah, 5% more Mormon than you were, right? Now you've been to Family Home Evening. So if we really were at a Family Home Evening, we would pray and we would have an opening hymn and we would sing, and it's a whole thing. So
I'll let you take the lead because I don't know the
prayers.
I'm not singing. Hymn, but go, please, the floor is yours.
I am not singing. I think the scars alone plus
Popcorn Tree. No.
Oof. Yeah, I did like that song, and I never understood it. I'm like,
why
are you singing? I'm not singing the popcorn popping on the apricot tree. I was always like,
chats. Heidi will sing the popcorns.
And I always was smart enough as a child to be like, those are flowers, and I don't get it. And so I still had a fun time, but like as your popcorn popping, I was like, this is fake. Like even then, I was a conspiracy theorist. I was like, I'm blackpilling the kid next to me. It's not popcorn. It's not. So, yeah, I ruined it.
Someone mentioned that the first beard, Thomas, and now so we had Jacob Isbell was going to come on. Andreas Curtis was going to come on. And about 15 minutes before the show started, Jacob
you guys
exploded. And because his beard is not magic enough, I guess he's still working on the beard magic. But we're going to go on, and what I'm thinking is that we'll have Jacob and Andreas come on another version of this show, like a part 2, and we're going to call it like the Extreme Edition or something, and it'll have like.
Does Zertis even have a beard? Does he qualify?
He said he literally told me that he was going to grow one in for the next time we do the episode. So, and he can grow fast.
Really? He's so blonde. I'm surprised.
No, he can grow a beard and facial hair very fast. So they will be on the
Wow.
extreme edition of this episode. So we're still going to talk about beards because I've got a
Stay
whole bunch of
tuned.
crazy beard
Me
photos.
too.
I
Yes.
feel like I want to just jump off into the I guess the tongue-in-cheek version of this, that a beard is also a slang term for a gay guy that gets married and the wife is then called the beard, or vice versa, but usually
Right.
that's the guy putting on a beard is him marrying a woman. And I assume that this is probably something that's popular in the Mormon community, right? Like you can't just come
I
out.
mean, no,
Wives
they
you have.
definitely would like you better to not do that. Yeah.
Do you think
They
it's
would like-
overcompensation? Like the gayer you are, the more wives you want to have to keep putting on beards and beards and beards?
Too bad we can't ask Brigham because he didn't have a very good child ratio. he was lacking in the children production phase. I'm just saying.
And Brigham Young, I guess that's a great point to start out on because he is listed in Time Magazine's like top 100 beards or whatever. He's number 19. So here's what a Brigham Young beard looks like. It actually, look at the color. Hold on, just look at the color here and look at the color on him.
That's scary. Are you sure you're not related?
I feel like again, I'm growing into Mormonism more each day. And I'm not trying to do it; it's just happening automatically.
This is scary.
What advice could you give me to avoid slipping completely into Mormonism without realizing it?
Do not have 55 wives.
Done. I'm already not doing that, so I feel like I'm on a good start.
Or 57 children. That's only like 1 point something per wife, though. He was a hit it and quit it. He must have sucked. That's my thought.
I like how you always dig at him for not having more kids. Like I feel like deep down there's a Mormon part of you that's like,
there is.
Young wasn't Mormon enough.
He was a bad prophet because he was an asshole, but also we're supposed to multiply and replenish the earth. And I know many Mormons that have one wife with like 13, 14 kids. So I don't know what he's doing here. I don't know.
I wonder too, in Brigham Young's like day and age, if taking another non-Mormon off the earth was also like, did you have to replenish that person because you removed the person? Or is it like that's one less resource needer out there to compete with me and my tribe?
Well, if you're a guy, this still actually happens, to your point, in the FLDS. So the FLDS will kick men out and then they will take all their wives and reassign them immediately. So it's actually done often. And also there's like a very tragic situation with their boys that are younger. They'll actually kick them out when they're just teenager kids and be like, yeah, we don't need you because you're good looking and young. So get out of here. And they'll just throw them out of the community. They don't know how. They've never been to real school. They've never talked to like the outside world. They're not allowed to. So yeah, that's a bad one.
How does the wife reassignment work?
So literally so my brother, my ex-brother-in-law was Warren Jeff's nephew as well on both sides. Like he was related on both sides. And by the time he did he was working construction and they wanted him to build a sewer uphill, which doesn't work. So he was nicely trying to be like, hey, uncle, because like they were on that level, like a good level. And he's like, hey, unc, that's not going to work. And he was like, the hell you say? Drive home right now. He gave him like enough money to get home and took his phone and took everything. And he's like, you're in their vehicles. You're in, because it's like the construction company. And he said, by the time I got home, I thought I was just going for a meeting. My wives and kids were already gone. So
how many wives did he have?
He had 2. And then his kids, he just had 3 kids with his first wife because they just barely got together with the second one. So
I guess you might not have all the answers here because this might be asking more back into the 19th century even, but I'm wondering if you're Brigham Young or you're someone adjacent and you've got 40 wives and you either die, you get kicked out, you go to jail, something happens. Do the 40 wives just flood the market? Are they going through like a liquidation outlet where it's first come, first serve? Is there like a sign up where the leaders of the church get to like their first pick before the rest of them are opened out into the rest? Or
They are assigned. They do not get to pick unless it's a very special circumstance, but it is quite common for your brother to marry your wives. It's kind of his job.
But like, how does the assignment work? Because I assume that at some point preference plays in, right? Someone up high is like, hey, I
Yeah.
heard that there's going to be a new flood on the market. Like, reserve the Model B for me or whatever, and then they get.
You get them assigned. Like the higher up, you're right. The higher up you are, if you have some clout for whatever reason, then you kind of get, your little hands in there quicker. But also the family members get in there fast. So it's so creepy though. You'd have to marry his brother, which is like your brother-in-law, and yeah, it's all bad. I guess it's better than their brother. Oops.
Who's brother?
Sometimes they be marrying up too close of relations. So I guess brother-in-law is not terrible for that clan.
I mean, just in fairness, that's also what like British royalty does. So isn't that
Right.
just emulating the
Right.
highest class people on the planet?
Well, they do it for the same reason. I mean, they do believe that they come from the line of David with this whole Priory of Sion business and genetics. And Joseph Smith said he was related to Jesus Christ through his wives. So
there was, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the exact quote I had on here, but someone was mentioning that their is it a bishop, I guess, in the Mormon church? Their bishop was trying to tell them that all the photos or all the paintings rather of Jesus was not the real Jesus, which actually I kind of agree with because he was like a Medici. Anyways, he was talking about the long hair, and the bishop was like, that's not the real Jesus. The real Jesus had short hair. His sideburns didn't go under the middle of his, like the historical Jesus actually looked remarkably like a modern day version of the Mormon guidelines.
the missionary. I don't know about that. But they do think he was very white and delightsome. And they actually say he had reddish hair. So whatever. I think they're
Right.
talking about another Jesus, in my opinion. But that's fine.
We as I was just looking around for some interesting Mormon beards and graphics, and I came across this one page, and you mentioned that you hadn't seen a whole bunch of the things on it. You definitely have
Just
seen
this
this one.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's, I mean, this was not made by Mormons. This was like an appeal to Mormons, which I assume we're not reading non-Mormon papers anyways, so it would have fallen on deaf ears. But they were saying like, hey, if you try and go out west, you will die. There are so many of you dying, and I guess American Primeval kind of style where
Yes.
you're just sending these bumpkins out into the wilderness and they have absolutely no idea what's waiting for them or like the trials and tribulations it's going to require. Although this,
Husbands be waiting.
yeah, it's all wives and children. There's no men in this scene. So was that pretty typical? Is that the guy would just leave all of his wives somewhere and go out to Utah and then say, come out and meet me? Because I would assume you'd travel with all your wives.
No, they rarely did. It was kind of really looked down upon with the whole polygamy thing. So they would often, and to this day, keep that on the DL and only go out with one wife at a time. And then, it's not ever, the wives will go out together, like to the grocery store or whatever, and they'll just be like, oh, she's my sister. And because they could say sister wife. So they'll be together sometimes, but not the husband. The husband will usually only be seen with one wife because they used to prosecute them quite heavily. So
I guess that's interesting. Like even in modern day Salt Lake, it's not like you're going to go to a restaurant and see a guy taking out his 9 wives in the middle of the restaurant, right?
No, they only go out with one family at a time. Like when people think of polygamy, they think like it's a fun Charles Manson thing, like where everybody's in the bed together, right? It's not that for sure.
Funny you went right to Charles Manson for your example.
Right. Yeah, because but Process Church, Mormon Church. Oh, we better not go there. Anyways, all Society of the Cincinnati, to be honest. But
wait, we better not go where?
With the Process Church and the Mormon Church and their parallels, let alone both Society of Cincinnati.
I don't know. I'm interested. What are the parallels between the Process Church and the Mormon Church?
Well, very culty, very culty. And the background of so many of the Process Church being 3-letter agencies, the Mormons, 3-letter agencies.
LDS is 3 letters.
Yeah, Right? Exactly. But there's none of the kinky, well, I won't say ever, because clearly Warren Jeff's got in trouble for some things, but normally it's this wife lives in this house, this wife lives in this house, this wife lives in this house, and on Mondays you go there, and on Tuesdays you, and it just goes like that. So they
If
have like a calendar and everything.
if you're
Mhm.
Brigham Young and you've got 40 plus wives, a couple of them are going to have kinks, right? Just and a numbers game.
He had favorites. He did have some favorites that got a lot more attention than others, I will say. Mhm. And she didn't have no
Like
kids.
one of them is really good at cooking Italian, so like that's the favorite whenever he like really wants some
Oh,
spaghetti.
right. My guess is it was something different because she was quite young. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was trying extra to have a baby with her, and then it just didn't work out. But maybe he didn't want another baby to tote around. He has been said that he oftentimes abandoned like the families, like they'd get married and they'd have their night together, and then like he's like, go fend for yourself. So
I mean,
I'm
again, if
not.
you've got 40 wives, you could only spend what like 4 or 5 days with each one of them. And I assume that he never got a day to himself, Brigham Young.
Oh, I don't know. I think he did what he wanted to do. He seemed pretty um able to just blow off. And honestly, there was a lot of the wives that became really close that kind of depended on each other so that they could do something, cuz back then they're not working, like they had to do something for money. He would take off and leave them like hundreds of miles away and not send money. And these women would have like babies and stuff, and he's just like, seems like a you problem. Like he was a dick, like literally. And so yeah,
Well, I guess
I
this
think.
isn't appropriate because when I was looking at this image too, I was thinking that these wives and their children are the beard in this image, right? You've got like the head,
Oh,
and there's like that salt and pepper
oh,
beard
they
at the bottom,
are. I see it. Ooh, spooky.
right? Am I the only one that saw
I
that? But you
see
see it,
that.
right? That's totally a beard.
Mhm. Oh
All right,
yeah.
all right.
Weird.
Um,
Weird, weird.
this one says the key to the mysteries of Mormonism, but this is just Freemasonry, right? That's all we're
Um,
looking at.
I mean, they let girls in. Other than that, yes.
This right here has got a priest getting really close to another guy dressed as Adam, I guess. Now, what I assume that they're whispering something like "Don't be gay" here, but it's got like a weird look to it. Almost, I mean, I'm not trying to be crass. I'm not
That's
intentionally
funny.
doing this, but that bishop is totally spitting into that naked dude's mouth, is he not?
It's very strange. It's very, yeah.
I don't know
It's
how
a
much
lot.
closer I can. Because I want to make sure I'm not just like reading into this and revealing like my own shadow self. But look at this. I
Yeah,
want to
it
know
looks
exactly what's
it,
happening.
it
What,
looks
what
like a lot.
exactly is happening here? Is he like
Oh,
looking into his mouth or looking into his eye or?
I hope he's checking his teeth because it looks kinky. Yikes.
I get you didn't get to go through this one because
Oh
you
no.
were in the 20th century, and I assume different for girls and guys.
Thank heavens. Whew.
And then we've got like a fat Napoleon Bonaparte here or something
With stretchy pants. He
with
has these
stretchy
stretchy
pants
pants.
and a fupa,
Yes.
a
Yeah,
Mormon
he does
fupa.
have a he definitely has that. Yeah, that's not attractive on a guy. Weird.
And it also seems that in
Okay.
every one of these, oops, there's some code in case you want to really look at some code. Um, there's like a Satan or like a trickster figure. Like here's like a
Mhm.
little monkey looking one in the background in the trees. Here's a creepy little guy that looks like he's the old man from Ninja Scroll that's like hiding up here. But then as you go through each one of these little panels,
What
that's
about the guy
gotta
with
be
the
like a
what about the guy with the animal? That was weird. The first picture, look, he's with a horse or something. I
I
don't
mean, he's
even
just
know.
leaning on the horse. I'm not going to look too much into all of them. That like
Weird.
that guy is doing something weird with that guy. The horse guy gets a pass just because he's the least weird thing happening in this particular part of the image, right?
Right.
Everything else is way
Right.
weirder than that.
It's very strange.
This one's got a
Yeah.
little devil, and then if you look in the far background, there's like another little devil over here on the right that's like talking to this guy by a
Oh yeah.
tree.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming, and then here's like I guess that's a lion. At first I thought it was like the decapitated head of a lion, but I think he's just petting a weird
He's just
monstrous
petting the
lion.
lion. They needed to cover his, business. So, yes.
And then what is happening here? Why is this bishop guy, is he putting something on her head?
I think he's probably anointing her with oil. That's my guess on that one. Remember how my great grandma said you had to get the whole naked for it? My guess is that is the alligator oil. I mean, the blessed olive oil in our church now. Maybe it was alligator oil then.
There's a little like zombie guy too coming out of the ground down here.
Yeah,
And I'm not joking when I say zombie, like, because you can see that he kind of has bones or flesh that are eating away on his arm right here.
well, they're baptizing the dead and stuff. They're doing stuff for the dead there. So they're coming up out of the ground. There's more. See, there's another one.
Yeah, there's some guys coming out of the ground. There's like a baby coming out of the ground back here. What are there Mormon stories with dead babies coming out of the ground?
Apparently, well, they say that we're doing all this work for dead people. So,
okay.
I mean, I don't put it past it, but
like
this is all weird. Yeah,
there's a Mormon zombie movie waiting to be made out there.
Definitely, this
just
is
like, and I hope no one's done this before. My good friend Spencer Lukes, who is the main writer on Sam Tripoli's Chaos Twins, and he wrote the Never a Straight Answer with me, and he had put together this like really clever screenplay for like a Netflix series or an Amazon series, but it was about vampire Mormons, because it would be the perfect thing that you send these missionaries to people's houses trying to convert them, but really they're just there to like turn them into vampires. The only problem is that they can only go out at night.
Stephanie Myers, she was a Mormon.
I guess that Twilight is already that series.
Right. Definitely. And I mean, this all seems very strange, but yeah, very lovely.
And again, this one I think is like an expose on Mormons. If you look really close on some of these images, they're all numbered. So I think a lot of the questions, like why is she naked? What's he pouring on her head? It's got. I
know why she's naked.
Somewhere.
They are doing I know that one. They're doing initiatory on that one. At least I know that one. But the rest of these animals running around in their most nicest celestial room, I don't know what that's about. But dead people coming
even
up.
If it's initiation, why does she have to be naked exactly? Because that bishop was like, I think you just ought to be naked.
Fully naked.
The guys are like, you could just take off your shirt.
Great grandma confirmed. Fully naked. I had a poncho. Now you have a baptism suit. It's very uncomfortable. Yeah.
This apparently was also a really popular motif of Mormonism being this huge alligator or like a crocodile, like some big reptilian foreign thing that was invading into the states. Because this comes up a few different times, and this one's called While the Watchman Sleeps. So it's basically that Uncle Sam is asleep at the wheel and he's letting Mormons into Congress. So maybe Mormons were not welcome in Congress, but they had some cash, I assume, to get them in the door.
Well, Brigham Young was very chummy with all the railroad people, and actually Promontory Point is here in Utah, where the railroad was completed, and they say, okay, he's running for his life because all these polygamous wives and running away from the government. And then he's like, hey, yo, I'll help you build the railroad. Like, what? Why are you contacting people that you're running from? Did you never hear about you're not supposed to do that? But yeah, so I dare say there's been many infiltrations forever. Yeah. Since Joseph. They didn't like him messing around with trying to become the president. They were not happy with that.
This is one I assume that was about equal rights, and they were like, here, pick up a gun. And it says, Brigham Young mustering his forces to fight the United States troops. So the joke here is that he was just marrying a bunch of women to send them off into battle, which I don't think ever... Did that happen? Did Mormons send their wives in the battle?
That I do not think actually happened, but I will tell you, I wouldn't doubt some of them going out there regardless, because there was some very wild pioneering women, not wild as in a bad way, but like they could hold their own. So
this also shows that, I mean, back as far as you can go, this is from 1857, That's always been the go-to joke about Mormons, was about Brigham Young and his 40 wives, right?
55.
55, sorry. I guess I'm not considering the children that he married, so I'm like
So
adding those
many.
up and those equal one together or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
This is another version of Uncle Sam, and this one says Mormon vermin nest. Which, man, if you were to apply this to other religions, people would be in an uproar. But it is kind of wild that this was, I guess, one of the main political talking points of this time. And it's literally just a nest of snakes that are slithering into the United States government.
I
And
think they
he's like
had it right.
standing on stilts here.
I think they had that one right. For sure, for
What,
sure.
the Mormon vermin?
Yeah, I think there's something up with that one for sure. They definitely infiltrated government, very sneaky like.
And this is supposed to be the tabernacle in Salt Lake City, I guess. And it says the only sure way an armed Uncle Sam approaches the tabernacle. I mean, this is a call to violence if I've ever seen one. Called the only sure way is like we got to march into the nest and
Wow. ...
And I guess you just put the last part together on your own.
Got to make sure you wear stilts.
Well, actually, I think those are bayonets on his rifles. He's like using the bayonets as stilts, which is kind of a badass image, to be honest.
That's a good one. Yeah, too bad they didn't stick by that one. Definitely infiltrated.
Oh, are they not gonna? Oh, here we go.
Oh.
This one is called female suffrage. Wouldn't it put just a little bit too much power in the hands of Brigham Young and his tribe? So again, it's just another joke about Brigham Young, like, yeah, we need women's suffrage because then I get 55 more votes.
Well, then they also get like a bunch of money if you can send them to work. That's what they do now, is like some women stay home and take care of the kids, and a lot of them go to work. So
Missing his beard in this depiction
yeah, it doesn't look
stands
the
out right
same.
away. This one was called The Apostle is Going Some. I'm not really sure if that's an incomplete statement or what. And then it says Journals of Discourse, Volume 10.
Oh, journals.
And this
of
guy's
discourse.
like running away from it. And then this guy's got like a little tomahawk hatchet. And it
My
says
guess is that might
Mormon
be
testimony.
that might have to do with the war with the Native Americans and the Baker Fancher party that we talked about. Not war, but the attack. So
This is Reed
anything.
Smoot. Whoever reads Smoot
Oh,
was
read.
Apostle of the Mormon Church, fleeing the 2 volumes of the Journals of Discourses. I guess trying to separate himself from some things that were said in these.
Anytime they say something bad that they want to change later, they put it in the Journal of Discourses and go, there was no collab. What are you talking about? So that's where it all goes. That's where the fun stuff goes. Yeah.
So when they take something out of the Book of Mormon, it goes into the Journal of Discourses for safekeeping, or what?
It's more about things that have probably been said in like speeches or conference or whatever, but
Okay.
they just, they put it there and say, JK, he wasn't a prophet right then. He was not in his profiting. I think he was a little off. So take that out, and that doesn't matter. Like when Brigham Young said, if you love your neighbor enough to kill him, because, some things you can't atone for on your own. So you should, if he needs to have his neck slit, go slit it for him. That's loving your neighbor. So that kind of stuff goes in there because that's like very inconvenient.
Okay.
And then,
well, Christians have the Apocrypha, which is sort of the same thing, where everyone got together and they decided this part doesn't fit, so don't take this as canon.
But also they only did that once. And so this keeps happening. There's tons of Journal of Discourses. It happens to this day. So
again, this is a selling point of Mormonism, because it's able to adapt and keep up with times. Like, how do you create a religion? Imagine you created a religion and you spent all the time putting it together, or a cult, right before AI comes out, and you never even considered the implications. and now you're stuck trying to reverse engineer and like explain that, oh no, technically this thing that we said in this chapter, that was about AI. But if you're Mormons, you can constantly kind of rewrite, new ideas and new interpretations
And they
make it
definitely
canon very
do.
quickly.
There are 26 volumes, and these are thick books of Journal of Discourses. These are a collection of sermons and public addresses by early leaders of the church primarily. The Journal of Discourses includes over 1,400 sermons delivered by over 55 speakers. So all of that is like, no more of that. We can't be doing any of that weird shit anymore. No more collab for you. So
I've heard the Talmud described the very similar way in Judaism, where some people will confuse the Talmud with the Torah and think like, oh, if it's written in Talmud, this is what. And the Talmud has also been described as kind of this archive of discussions and zany ideas that maybe at one point were mainstream, but then they get shelved into this other discourses sort of book. So, which would make sense that Mormonism would just keep borrowing from the same source that it's been borrowing from, right?
well, they like to change it all, though. I mean, it's kind of blasphemy from like the beginnings. Like the FLDS would never do that. So I don't know. I'm mixes on that because I'm like, if it's really this important and you really think that we should stick by all these things that your prophet said and your prophet got the living word of God, then why would you change it?
I don't know. I feel like we could have an interesting conversation on this because I can see it maybe through the lens of like fashion coming in and out, right? Like
Yeah,
bell
yeah.
bottoms are in, but they're only going to be in for a decade, and maybe you're pushing it if you're talking 2 decades. But they're going to come back in the style, just like every other thing is eventually going to come back in style. And if you understand that principle, you could be at the height of the Mormon Church and realize, oh, polygamy is going out of style. We're going to go ahead and put that one on the back burner. Magic hat, you're out. Urim and Thummim, you're back in. You know what I mean? Like
It's
like
out.
they'll go through these like there has to be in the coming decades, if not century, but that Mormonism will have to re-embrace its like new age philosophy and seer stones and
But
like all of the magic, right?
that's all of the stuff that's in there. So I don't know that they ever go backward when they put it in there. It's kind of dead, and so it's
Except
kind of sad.
the hat
Yeah,
came back,
yeah. The hat came
right?
back. I don't know. I
In
don't
your
know.
lifetime, you personally
I
saw
never
it
thought.
going from
Yeah.
the hat's not real, that's just slander made up to make
Yep.
fun of us,
Don't look at
to
that.
oh, the hat's always been here. Look, it's right here on my head.
JK. Haha.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
No.
feel that that's like a very real possibility. They bring things, and I guess uh, appropriate of the original topic here, which is the beards, the Mormon beards, because the idea is that still right now in 2025. I guess you're still directed away from having facial hair if you're a missionary. You're supposed to be clean
So
cut. And has this
not
changed?
not just the missionary. So people need to know if you attend BYU, you may not have anything but a clean shaven face. If you are a missionary, if you hold a church position like a bishop or a stake president or any of that stuff, even the affiliates visiting BYU, like if you're just going over there to visit, like as a visiting teacher, they encourage it to have a clean shaven face. Visiting faculty, cooperative professors, all of them, they like seriously say no. Temple workers can't. Any of these higher up positions are a no. And this ended after so 1951, George Albert Smith was the last to have any facial hair. He didn't have a big beard. He just had like a little goatee. And after World War One, this is why they say it changed. The invention of the safety razor was out, and they saw more clean shaven soldiers. So this became normal. And the Mormons are like, we should be soldiers too, because we're in the FBI. Oh, wait, no. The FBI wasn't there yet, but we want to be part of the government, so we should shave our faces. And so they started doing it and implementing it for others. So
There was an FBN before the FBI, and before the FBN, there was the Pinkertons, I guess. So it kind of like
goes on and on.
evolved. The Pinkertons were around when Mormonism was still in its beard phase.
There you go. So they were like, okay, let's just get rid of all that, and not just the beard, but long hair. You had to have, it can't be past your collar. My ex-husband was quite a little cowboy, and he had a Fu Manchu and a mullet. And so it was a whole situation.
Well, let
Also
me
to-
ask you, on this lineup we've got now, ignore the names. I know you won't be able to ignore the names, but if you ignore the names, which one are you drawn to the most?
Drawn to as in which way? Like my grandpa and he's safe, or
I guess your husband just got, blacklisted from Mormonism, and they're like, all right, we're reassigning all the wives. Which one of these were you like,
Ugh.
I hope it's with this one?
Oh my gosh. They're all ugh.
There's only one right answer. I'll just let you know. This is
Right.
not like an open. This is a very much that has a right answer to it.
I mean, Joseph Smith's the only
Right,
normal looking
okay,
one.
there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you've got JFK here, and then every other president, right?
And then this is the guy that had the last one. This is the last beard.
Joseph F. Smith.
George A. Smith, yes. And he's also the first one to be in secret societies. He's also the first one to be very affiliated with the Rotary Club, but we can't prove. And so he also ended up on Time magazine. And many think that this was kind of a nod, like, I'm playing ball, y'all. And so, yeah, very interesting.
Do these Smiths all claim to be lineage of the original Joseph Smith?
This is his relative.
So Joseph F. Smith in 1901, and then George Albert Smith, and then we've got Joseph Fielding Smith.
Yep.
They all claim lineage to. And is that real lineage, or is it just claimed lineage?
No, they have, how Mormons are with their genealogy. I mean, it's definitely real.
Do you think we'll ever have a young head of the Mormon church, or was Joseph Smith the first and last?
I mean, I don't know. It's always old guys now, right? It's like, okay, you've played ball for long enough, and you now live at the Mount Olympus of the gods, and your family's all perfect in all their lineage. So yeah, put you up there. Like it's not like some guy off the street just is this great Mormon guy and he's going to get it. No. This is all handed down through genealogies, and they know who's who of what. It's very monarch.
This is one of the weirdest parts of Mormonism is when you see, look, the first guy was like this young, clean-shaven mysticist that was talking to angels and deciphering hieroglyphics. And then as soon as he went away, everyone else was just caught an old fuddy-duddy that was making up rules that they didn't follow for everyone else. Out of all of these, Joseph Smith seemed like the visionary.
I mean, Brigham Young, even though he was a complete jerk, came from a very magical family as well. If we're talking about magic, they were a lot darker magic. Yeah, he did have that, but he also, his family and his name alone in that time frame. So there's a lot that's going on with him, and like accusations of magic, not the good kind, not just folky magic. There's been some things said, but they also probably put that in the Journal of Discourses. Who knows? I will say this. Oh, I forgot to tell you this about BYU. If you have an actual problem, like I'm guessing the one that causes tons of outbreaks or whatever, hydrodentis supportiva.
Ingrown hairs.
Yeah. You have to go through the whole deal though and get the doctor's note and everything. So
this is exactly how the U.S. military still operates and how Disney operates. If you are a cast member at Disney that could ever be seen in the park, you follow the exact same rules. It is clean facial hair. Sideburns have to end halfway down the ear. Like every single one, beat for beat, is Mormons, military, Disney. All three of those are the same. And with
where does that come from?
Well, the military, as I understand it, it's more of a hygiene thing than anything else, and it makes it so that someone can't grab you by the hair, by the beard, that lice can't start growing in your hair, beard, and spread to other people. And that also, so if you have some nasty gash or some weird gangrene thing going on, you can't hide it under, your beard or your hair. So like there's all these hygienic reasons in why it makes you more battle ready to just have short hair. That makes plenty of sense to me. And you're honestly not supposed to or even allowed to have a bald head. You have to have some kind of hair on it. Again, it's more practical, it's more strategic. But when it comes to Mormons and Disney, the reason that Disney does it is because they want to be timeless. They want it so that if your grandparents went to Disney in the 1960s or 70s, and then they bring their grandkid in the 2020s, that if you look at a picture, the background of Main Street USA, all the people look the same. It looks timeless. And the only thing changing is you, because you don't live in the magic. Disney is the magic. So that makes me think in the back of my head, like, because the Disney part makes sense, modern day Mormons, I wouldn't consider them like soldiers and warriors. In fact, the most soldier/warrior Mormons ever got was probably in the early 19th century when they all had beards. So the only other thing that makes sense is it's a magical reason. They want to feel like they're timeless somehow. And I mean, if you told me that any of these guys from 1951 through 2008 was just a picture of some old guy in the 1950s, I would say, yeah, I can see, right? Like even people with these black glasses, 1994, like that guy is still living in the 1950s. So maybe there's a part of Mormonism that is also trying to be timeless, and we just don't know the secret reason behind it.
Well, they were good buddies with a lot of the people you're mentioning, so I mean,
did Walt Disney have Mormon ties?
Disney had some Mormon ties. Yes. Yep. So, and I know that he was said to be very fond of them. Then we've got the Werner von Braun business. Like, it's all very interesting. But then we know the affiliation of Disney with the Masons. I mean, he wasn't one per se that they say.
He was Demolay, which is kind of, it's very similar. Because I guess I had a discussion with Ike Baker a few months ago, and he is deep into a cult. Like, he's probably one of the official words that I would consider. Like, it's hard to be official on occultism, but the dude has been through
he's a Martinist.
Initiations, and he is he's like a proud Martinist. And I told you that, and you're like, ugh. But like,
I know I need to talk to him. That would be great.
I would love for you guys to have a discussion. It would be a really good one, I think, because it surprised me that he didn't shy away from any questions, and he was of kind of a refreshing opinion that Masons don't really have secrets the same way that most people consider it, and that and I'm going to paraphrase him and butcher it a little bit, but one of the things that really made an impression on me was that joining the Masons because you're into occultism, it would be like going to Walt Disney World just because you like roller coasters or something like that. Like, there's better places that you can go if roller coasters are your thing. Disney is like its own thing that happens to have roller coasters in it. And that was kind of the way, that's my own analogy, but the way he was describing Masonry was that, yeah, people join Masonry, but if you wanted to join Masonry to learn about like magic and alchemy and like all this stuff, there's like 20 other groups that you could go into that's not Masonry that would still get that done. So I kind of feel that like a little bit like that about Mormonism in some ways. Like, although you're kind of born into Mormonism more than anything else, but the link being that Walt Disney being in Demolay, if you go into Demolay and you pick up on the occult aspects of it and you know how to apply those, you never have to join the Masons. It's the kind of the same reason that Masons will make someone like an honorary Mason or an honorary 33rd degree or something that didn't actually go through the whole process, because they'll just be like, oh, you already know everything that we have to offer, so here's a fast track to go to the front of the line. And
that's what happened to Joseph. Yeah, did you know that he had exactly what you just said?
There's actually a little bit of debate about this depending on what your view on Mormonism is. So in some of the examples, Joseph Smith was such an adept in Freemasonry that he understood enough of it that they were just like, to the front of the line. Here you go. Here's your apron. We'll sign a little certificate. Other people that I've read that are critical of Mormons but are pro-Mason say that he kind of set up his own fake lodge, or that like it was a midnight lodge that got set up just to pass him. and it wasn't necessarily like a lodge in reputation, and that it hadn't been established long.
It
I
was
don't
the
think it matters.
Canandaigua. It was the Canandaigua Lodge. I think it had been around for quite a while, at least his paperwork says. And even the church now has changed their stance on it. They used to be like, was not a Mason. And now they're like, JK, he was a Mason.
Really?
Yeah. So if you go to LDS.org, whatever, and look up Mason, are Mormons Masons, they'll be like, well, there has been a lot of Mormons that are Masons and blah, blah, blah. And they talk about Joseph and Hiram. And I'm like, oh, well, all right. I guess it's mainstream now. That's weird. And they also took away the rule that you couldn't be in secret societies anymore. And that was a big deal back in the day. And so even though they broke the law always, because like this prophet right here, Spencer W. Kimball, was actually noted talking about Rotary Club on something, and he wasn't supposed to be in it. But and whatever, they get away with whatever they want. But what I'm saying is, and I think Hinckley as well, but they're all, I mean, half of them are skull and bones. So they like recognizes like. Long story short is, I do know they are open about it now. They give his lodge number. They give like all the details of it. They're just like, oh, you want to know? Here it is. And I was like, whoa, this is super changed, but okay.
Well, would it be controversial to say that there would be no Mormonism without Masonry?
Oh, you could not. No, it's mostly, I mean, come on, it's based on it for sure. Like, I don't think it's 100% because Joseph is, I mean, we've talked about this. Joseph definitely was practicing Solomonic magic, and that is not something all Masons do. That is pretty specific to certain sects of Masonry, which
That's
Martinism.
debatable. That's debatable.
I mean,
because the very initiation rituals in Masonry itself, the very way the lodge is even designed, could be interpreted as Solomonic magic. I mean, the fascination with Solomon's temple and how Solomon
right.
built the temple using magic, demons from the sea to build this temple. I mean, that's kind of what Masons are constantly doing. They're trying to rebuild Solomon's temple.
You're not invoking something twice a year, either on the fall equinox or the spring equinox.
They are. I mean, the Masons do have two different St. John's days. So I don't know. I feel like, again, do
you have an HGA? Is that what we're talking?
Well, I guess I'm thinking in the mentality of like what Ike Baker had brought up, where you could join the Masons and go to both of the St. John's Day celebrations, 2 times of the year, and never put 2 and 2 together. You can go through lodge proceedings for 40 years, 50 years, and never realize, hey, wait a minute, are we just doing Solomonic magic right now?
Are we doing magical stuff? What?
Like, you could be the same exact way that you could be in the Mormon church for your entire life and not realize, hey, do I have a square and compass on me, or do I have symbols that represent blood oaths that are also in Freemasonry pressed against my skin at this very moment? A lot of people would never even have that thought go across their head, but that is what it is, right? Is there any other explanation for where those symbols come from?
Well, and Joseph was very purposeful, and for people commenting, like, yes, there are things that we do that are magic, like spelling and different things all the time, right? Like, all of this stuff is definitely true, but we know that with the parchments that are available, and if you guys haven't seen my episode 172 on Spotify, check it out. This talks about all of this stuff, and I'm telling you guys, like 100%, he was invoking spirits, and this wasn't an accident. He was specifically invoking specific spirits with parchments and magic, and that's way more than just porch mason stuff, in my opinion. And do I think they still do it at a high level? You bet your ass I do. Hi, Jeremy.
Did you just say porch mason? How dare you?
I did, because there's porch Mormons too. I just don't know what to call them. I call them Goyim half the time, but I just I feel like it's bad that my main problem, and people always say, oh, you're always bashing the Mormons, and I'm like, look, I'm not. I love the Mormon people, and especially they're mostly my family, and I was one forever, born into it, my whole heritage, everything. But the point is when you know that they're using you for something, I just feel like that's not okay without consent. If they want to be used all day long and they're like, guess what? We're this cool Harry Potter school. We do, all this magical stuff, and we're going to totally suck you dry of all of your magical properties for our own health and benefit. And somebody's like, sign me up, fucking do it then. Like, that's cool, but like, don't lie to people and tell them it's about going to heaven. That's just creepy.
And
You know
I'll
what I
stand up
mean?
for you here because I don't think you're
Yeah.
bashing, and I think the proof is in the pudding here that you make me want to become more of a Mormon than anyone else has.
I
And I
have
know that's not
failed.
your
I have
intention.
failed.
I
Yeah.
realize that that's not what you're trying to do, but the more you talk about, like, the first time I heard you, like, Joseph Smith was just doing magic and he had these talismans and they were,
Mhm.
summoning angels to tell him where treasure is. Like, I wanted to say, sign me up. If I was 7 years old,
You're like, was Asmodeus there? Because I want to know.
I'm just trying to, like, imagine if I had, like, a child's mind and eyes, and I'm just learning about the world for the first time, and I've gone to Catholic mass, for a few years, and it's like, you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to laugh or have fun. You're gonna sit, you're gonna kneel, you're gonna stand, you're gonna walk when we tell you to. You might get, in trouble if you fidget too much. And then you're like, and here's this other religion where we do magic spells and look for treasure. Like,
And make parchments. And,
right.
Yeah.
Then we
Right.
pretend that we can understand hieroglyphics and speak in Egyptian and stuff. I don't know. I feel like it
Oh.
would be such an easy sell for me.
I do too. I don't understand why they hide it so badly, other than, the witch thing. And that's where it all started
Wait,
to go
what witch
wrong.
thing? You mean the witch
Oh,
trials?
so great. I thought I told you this. Maybe I didn't, because we haven't talked about serious. We've been silly a little bit, and it's fun because we get to talk about weird stuff like beards. But I've been diving deep into all of this past history of Joseph Smith and his great grandpa, Captain Samuel Smith, member Society of the Cincinnati. Also organizer of the Boston Tea Party. And I'm like, wait a minute, Mormons are super patriotic. Why are they hiding this guy? Right. I was so confused. So I did a deep dive on him because I was thinking, this doesn't make sense, with what I know about patriotism. And so Captain Samuel Smith, he was this, great patriot, whatever, Boston
Is
Tea
this who we're
Party
talking about?
organizer.
Is this the guy?
Oh man, I need
It
to
says
find his
Revolutionary War
date.
Patriot, 1752 to 1839.
Let me find his date. So the point is that I thought, oh, this is such a great, why would they hide this guy? I'm going to find out right now. And then I found out he hung some witches. And I was like, oh shit, that's probably why they don't want to talk about it, right? So Captain Samuel Smith, 1757, I think, is when he was elected as a selectman. He was a selectman for actually they're from Salem. Like, this is like right near Salem, Topsfield, Massachusetts. And people will say that's not his real grandpa. Well, I hate to tell people, I've looked it all the way through, and his dad that was born from this guy was born in the exact same place. Like, it's pretty hard to say it wasn't. It was. So Samuel Smith II served 20 years in the Massachusetts colony militia, 27 years in town leadership positions. They say these people are like nobody and farmers. He was the chairman of the Boston Tea Party, and then all this great stuff. But then all of a sudden got involved in the Inquisition and hung some ladies. So I think that's probably where things went wrong. And why would they want to pull away from that? Well, if your dude's doing magic and it looks kind of witchcrafty, I can see why they did that now. So yeah,
Here we go. Samuel
that's
Smith,
him. That I know that picture.
Topsfield selectman, was a selectman, legislative representative, committee correspondent member.
No
Okay.
beard. FYI.
People still write about Samuel Smith because one of his great grandsons, Joseph Smith, founded the Mormon Church.
And he had an okay presentation there until he hung some ladies. And the only way I found him was going up through the Uncle Jesse's line, because I was like, why can't I find the grandpa of these people, like the great grandpa? And finally I did, but they obfuscate this because he was involved in the Inquisition. And then it makes you go, Methinks one protests too much, right? And then you start putting 2 and 2 together with the family parchments and the Solomonic, magic, and maybe he was the Martinist, I don't know.
Well,
But I know he was the Society of Cincinnati member. I will tell you that. I know that
this
for sure.
particular article is interesting because this blog, I guess by J.L. Bell, who's a Massachusetts writer who specializes in the American Revolution, he makes it sound like in typical Mormon fashion, they kind of stole someone else's story and dressed it up a little bit, because here in the it says 1773, and then there's a page at josephsmithsenior.com, and it says Samuel Smith was the ringleader of the Boston Tea Party. So that was the height of the myth of
but
who
he
this
didn't
guy
go.
was.
Yeah.
Right. No, it says under this, it says right here that the record shows that in 1773, Smith and his fellow selectmen called a town meeting. However, that town meeting did not happen until the 27th of December, a week after the tea had been destroyed in Boston. So there's no way that he could have been the ringleader for the Boston Tea Party.
That just means they didn't do it like in the whole, like at this meeting. I mean, I'm sure they were all in on it. I don't know.
Fair point.
I don't know how important he was, but I will say this. Don't you think this is funny? What did they do at the Boston Tea Party? They dressed up as what? What did they dress up as? Native Americans. And then they went and dumped it in the harbor. Okay, now we have an exact replay of this with Primeval, and that really happened.
The
with
Meadow
the
Mountain Massacre. Okay, name
Yes,
3
sir.
times that Mormons dressed up like Indians and massacred
Just saying.
people.
I'm just saying.
It only happened twice. I mean, come on. You ever heard
and
of
then
a second chance?
And then he hung some witches. So, and long story short, they like to say these people are uneducated, whatnot. They've got cousins running Dartmouth. They've got cousins that this is my favorite one. The cousin that saved his leg, Dr. Nathaniel Smith. Okay, his mother writes about the doctor, Nathan, and doesn't put his last name. She might have forgotten it, even though it's her own name. Oh, weird. Okay, whatever. And she saw him like 27 times is what's documented. And here's the funnier part, in case people say it could be a different one. True, could have been, but he marries Joseph Smith's neighbor. So there's that. Just saying, the lady that had the original seer stone and where he stole the seer stone from that property. Yeah, he marries her. And so he sets up, this medical school at Dartmouth and gets ran out of town for stealing dead bodies. I thought you might like this. No beard, by the way, no beard that I saw. And they run him out of town. So he runs and runs to go to Yale, and he sets up Yale's medical school. And that's where we start getting into why were the Mormons at Yale and setting up Skull and Bones. Well, there was a few more people than 1 or 2 there that were Mormon. So, yeah.
And also experimenting on dead bodies, it only has a recent taboo. That was like a very tradition. I mean, that's where Greek magic came from. A lot of that was necromancy.
But the funny part is this tied it all together. Remember when I told you that I was like, why would they run this in the newspaper that they're sleeping by their dead son's grave? All makes sense now. I'm like, oh, they didn't want his body to get stolen. Right. They were like, hey, bitches, we're here. And remember, I was wondering why they dug him up. Well, they dug him up to make sure nobody dug him up. But I do think they stole his hand. I do.
Well, now if you were to ask someone, and I'm just making this up as I go, but if you were to just ask a random person, why would you have a gate or a guard at a cemetery? The modern reason was like, oh, so you don't dig someone up and take their jewelry or take any of like the gold or anything that they were buried with. But the traditional reason that you would have a watchman in a cemetery was because people were digging up bodies and using the body parts for magical purposes. That's the real original reason to even have a watchman, because it wasn't very typical to bury someone with gold and jewelry for a mass amount of people. Like, that was not a normal thing. It is kind of now. So like grave robbing used to be robbing the body, not things on the body.
Well, here's the funny thing too. So don't forget that at that time, that all this is going down. They're treasure diggers, but they never find any treasure. And apparently that pays well to get the bodies. So it makes one wonder,
Mm.
just makes me wonder. That's all.
Well, I guess if the body is your treasure, then you're just not allowed to call it the treasure, but you're still
Mhm.
finding your treasure.
And then they
also,
ran them out of town.
if you're
Yeah.
smart and you actually do find treasure, you're not going to go and advertise it because you probably think there's
No.
more wherever you found yours. There might be another box somewhere.
So also somebody is saying, I thought it was a school college. The college actually was considered a Native American school, but the Native American school wasn't for Native Americans. I did a deep dive on this because I'm a dork, but whatever. I did a show on it. It's not out yet. But they called it that because these guys were actually training to become clergy to the Native Americans. So it was like a preschool. And Hiram Smith was actually almost done. And the whole family lived on campus during this time, which they don't talk about at all. And then guess what book goes missing? Oh, you're going to love this one. I forgot to tell you this. So his other cousin teaches there and is a professor there. He was a professor of languages and the rare book dealer in town. He has this rare books like shop, and he is totally involved in all these rare languages. But the Scotichronicon goes missing when Joseph Smith bounces out of town, and I found that fascinating. Just FYI.
What was the name of it? The
The
Scotichronicon?
Scotichronicon, which is a magical book. It's not the Necronomicon. It's not that.
Yeah, no, I get that. That one's
No,
from a
no.
from a fiction
Yeah,
book.
yeah. No. This is a real, like a magical book, but also funny enough, if you look up Professor Johnny Smith's information about what he's teaching, he's the one that came up with the Church of Christ ideas. He's the one teaching the same theology Joseph Smith takes for his own and goes forward with in the future. So interesting. Yes.
This is actually new to me. I'm not sure if I've heard of the Scotichronicon before.
Yeah. Yeah. So very interesting anyways. I thought that it was fascinating, and it was super worth a lot of money then. And basically, they talked about how this was something that was even worth money then and should have been at Dartmouth because it should have like been in their library. It was a big deal, and then it just went missing. And I thought it was pretty funny, but whatever. I will be having a Dartmouth episode coming out that will explain this in a more in-depth.
This is actually wild. The Wikipedia
Right?
article makes
super
it
fun.
sound like this is where you get the original story of Robin Hood as well, because it mentions that the 1283 entry for Robin Hood, but Bauer, I guess, who wrote this, placed Robin Hood in 1266. So I don't know that if there's a connection now between Little John and Robin Hood and the Mormon Church. I feel like these episodes are just writing themselves.
You do know they definitely, say they're part, like I said, of the lineage and part of the divine right to rule. And they say they are related to, kings and queens and everything. And that whole weird story about Stash and the kid here, Marie Antoinette's kid and all this stuff. And all I can say is, you guys, I am definitely related. Like right now, my ancestry is all weird in general. And I only bring it up because of my pioneer roots, because then it matters for these old people. I don't care about now. Like it was never plus for me. It's all bad. It's all bad. Like Merovingians and bad people and the Orleans family and Medici's, like none of this is good. Just family curse after family curse, I'm sure. So what I'm saying is some of it had to have been somewhat right if my family relatives are these pioneer Mormons and I'm like my 10th great grandpa to this day is right now the King of England. Why? That's weird. Like that's just weird to me. And so I've been bringing this up on and on again because they do talk about Jesus having 3 wives, and they do. And they say Joseph Smith hailed from that lineage. I did not hail from Joseph Smith's lineage. I am a pioneer Mormon and related to other people, like Young's wife and these other people, but always through the wives. So
Well, I think
not
if you're a Trinitarian Christian, Jesus is allowed to have 3 wives because there's 3 of him.
do you
So
know you
really, it's
can't
just 1 wife.
yeah. Well, you can't go to heaven without 3 wives back in the day. Just
There's
FYI.
also the 3 Marys in some interpretations of Christianity too.
Well, I think 2 of the wives were supposedly Marys and 1 was a Martha. So that's what I remember from. I haven't deep dove this whole thing with. It's like the Priory of Sion and the what did they call that name of that
Holy
damn?
Blood, Holy Grail. That's
Yeah,
like
but
where's the original one.
it's different. It's the real one, like the Templars talk. Well, I don't know if it's real, but the real name for it. It's got like a French name. Do you remember what it's
The
called?
Priory of Sion?
No, I'll find it. I'll find it. Why we keep talking because I know where it's at because I was listening to something about it just barely.
All right, I've
'Cause
got
I'm weird.
another a couple interesting notes on this one. So this one is from
Rose Dus REX. Yeah,
what is it?
the REXDEUS. Rex Deus? Rose?
Rex Deus.
Yes.
That's Latin though, not French.
Well, whatever that is. That's what it is.
The mystery of Rene Chateau, which
There you
is
go.
where they found like where allegedly some of these bodies are buried or the bones or I think this usually brings in one of the chapels too that had maize and corn on it, proving that there was travel across the world earlier on. It's a fun. I mean, there's a reason why we get a movie with Tom Hanks in it.
Yeah, it's weird, but at the same time, and it's not to be cool or special because honestly, if you're a Christian, none of that is good. Not a damn thing of that is good. But I do think that there was some truth to some things with this whole royal lineage hiding. If they're here, I mean, clearly some of them made it here because I'm here. So that's weird. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the Mormons were up to, but something. So
I think this is from the 19th century, but there was this note about Mormon missionaries in Liverpool, and they were saying that I guess 2 Mormons got into an argument over this, and one of them mentioned that facial hair added dignity. So that was Elder Lyman. Elder Lyman had this approach, and then I guess Elder Grant or President Grant said that he was fearing right here, feigning fear that a young man's whiskers might occasion a fire. And I think that there's like a little bit of tongue in cheek in there, but they're basically saying like, we don't want Mormon faces to catch on fire, so let's just keep everyone fresh shaved, even if it adds dignity. That has some downsides to it. So that was in like a historical record between Mormons that are actually struggling with whether or not they're allowed to have beards. This is one of the conversations that gets factored into this.
boy.
Okay, so I found this is one like I went on a rabbit hole and me and you were passing links back and forth because I was trying to find a modern version of the guidelines of okay, what exactly are you allowed to have on your face? Are you allowed to have a beard in Mormonism? And there is it used to be missionary.lds.org. So not all Mormons, just missionaries, but they are kind of the representatives. And I had to dig into the Wayback Machine as far back as 2019 because this page no longer exists. And you mentioned that's because they all have apps now. Mm-hmm. So then I started going down a rabbit hole of like, well, what are these apps called? And I didn't get to look far enough into these. I feel like we could have an entire show on just Mormon missionary apps or something and like rate and review them. But Preach My Gospel seems to be the #1 Mormon app on any of the markets. 518 reviews, 4.4 stars, 50,000 downloads. And for example, it says that it helps you set goals, make plans, and record progress of the people they serve. Work closely with local unit leaders and members, find and contact people interested, keep track of appointments and activities, and then navigate the area and plan time effectively. So,
but this is more than that. I'll tell you because my neighbor kid, he came and showed me because he came home from his mission.
App that he has?
I don't know if it was that one. This is back. He's in the military now. He's a Marine. He's like my other son. So hi, Louise. But he showed me his, and he said, no, they have direct answers for things on here. Like if somebody says a question that's like really screwed up and you don't know what to say, you just do and put it in, and then
I
ta-da, it
need
like
this
tells
app.
you.
I want this app now.
They'll never give it to you. It's only through the church. You have to have like a number. It's all on the like really locked up. Yeah.
I don't know. I know some people. I feel like we could get a copy
be.
of this.
Could be. I
There-
don't know if
there
that's it,
has
but I
to
could
be
ask him.
someone watching right now. We've got over 100 people watching live right now, and probably another 1,000 after this doesn't go live. If you have access to, I don't know what the official Mormon Missionary app is, but I'm sure someone listening at this exact moment knows
Should
someone
know.
that has this
Yes.
app and has got access to and everything. I would love to just get a peek. I want to just ask a couple questions
I'll
and just
ask
see what's in
my-
it. We don't have
I'll-
to like reveal who you are or where we got it from. I just want
Well,
access to this thing.
I think they kick him out of it as soon as they're done with their mission, because he only had his on there still because he got COVID and he wasn't technically released yet. And so it was at the very beginning of 2020. And so that's why it was the whole deal. But
I mean, you could
Yeah.
get this app and then air gap it, meaning just never let it talk to the internet again. So there's probably a few copies of this thing floating around.
true
And
that.
if it's an app that, do Mormons use iPhones or Androids?
Well, I mean,
I feel like
Most
they would all
people
use the same
here
one. No?
use iPhone.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't
Are
know. I
Mormons
don't know.
iPhone people or Android people? Microsoft or Apple?
They usually are Apple, but that makes sense because Bill Gates is their number one money guy. Like that's their number one portfolio choice. So, meh. But I'm sure they can use both. It's whatever. They're asking about gang stalking and Mormonism, and they're like, call Andreas. But I did have, the gang stalking. I don't know. When I first got out, my grandma came for me hard, but I feel like it was a personal thing and
I mean,
not
find
the
and
church.
contact people who are interested, which to me there's got to be a special gang stalking folder where if you've run out of people on your street and you've still got extra time in the day, go and gang stalk these people
Right.
because they're non grata.
Possible. It's my son. Yeah, he's a teenager, and the Mormon missionaries were coming by and walking just near the fence, and they were like, "Hey, could we share a message with you?" And he's like, "Sure, what's up?" And then they said something, and he's like, "That's okay, I'm on crack, I gotta go." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." As if it's not bad enough, like that they know we're apostates. You're gonna do that to me. Thank you so much.
My dad
Teenager.
used to have some choice words for Mormons when I was a kid. He thought he was hilarious. I thought it was a little cringy, but yeah, he would say wild stuff to them like, "I got to go back to beating my kids. Sorry."
Yeah,
But he
sounds
didn't
like my
realize
son.
that they were like, "Oh, you're already Mormon. Okay, we can keep moving."
You're like, "Oh, he is white and delightsome. Likely he's fine."
Here was
Oh,
another one
boy.
called the My Mission app, and some of these sound so official. I don't like. Maybe this is the official one that's on both of the, but this one didn't have as many ratings as the other one did.
'Cause you're not supposed to talk about it.
The My Mission app. So maybe this is part of it. There was the Mission Call app, which helps people, and there's like a game built into it. So we're gonna have to just do a Mormon app review at some point in the future. I feel like it could be fun.
Wow. I did not know there were so many choices.
And
I
then
just
there was
figured
this entire thread that got nuked called Missionary Approved Phone Apps. Hey, I'm gonna serve a mission next month, and I'm required to bring a
Oh.
Samsung phone. So that's Android, by the
the
way.
primary official app for Mormon missionaries is Preach My Gospel app, according
I
to
was
Google
right. It's the
Play.
one that has the most review because you have to give it a 5-star. Otherwise,
Oh, yeah.
you get
Oh my
blacklisted.
gosh. Really?
So someone else, I want to. Are there any bad reviews we can read?
So funny.
Here,
Remember
most
the one about the
relative-
guy getting his bike stolen?
Oh, here we go. I want to just do 1 star. Let's see.
Super funny.
I'm not allowed to use the app because I don't have permission to use it. I just wanted to learn more about the gospel and So they're mad that they don't have access to the Mormon app.
Which is legitimate. They lock down everything. Yeah.
As missionaries, we rarely have Wi-Fi to update, and you can't use it unless it's up to date. I could see that being frustrating.
Hmm.
I'm a ward mission leader. It would be beneficial to allow me to see what my elders are doing. Please give me access. And then look at this. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints respond like you can get them to talk to you if you give them a 1-star rate. I'm not telling people listening right now that if you want a direct conversation with the Church of Latter-day Saints, that all you have to do is find this Preach My Gospel app and give it a 1-star, and you will get a response. I'm not saying to do that, but I am saying it seems like this is one way to get them to talk to you if you're looking for them. But it says to coordinate your efforts with full-time missionaries, you can use the progress record in the Member Tools app. So maybe Mormons get their own app, even if you're not a missionary, you have a Member Tools app.
This was all like not digital when I was in there. So I've been out of this whole mess since 2012. So yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy that all of the 1-star ratings are really just people that want access to it and can't get it because it's only for missionaries.
Very interesting.
Wild. And there is an app here called Member Tools. Look at this. Over 1 million downloads. So I guess if you are a Mormon, you just have this app on your phone. This is post Heidi being Mormon, I assume.
Yes, definitely not. Yeah, not a thing when I was there.
Wow, this has got a whole itinerary built into it. When you need to go to temple, it auto-populates your calendar, directory of people.
Oh, listen to this. Also, Latter-day Saint missionaries are assigned a church-owned smartphone. Because you can't just be getting on, you can't even talk to your mom or anybody. It used to be that you could talk to your mom on Mother's Day and then at Christmas. That was it all year, except for writing letters. But I know they've changed some rules, so I don't know. But yeah, these are actually provided at the MTC Mission Training Center. So, yep.
Look at this. That they are even on the Modern Tools app. You can get the church to respond directly to you with a 2-star review. This is actually pretty fascinating to me. I want to see.
They're very well. You do know that the Mormons are very up and up on all of the computer stuff. I mean, they were one of the first people through Howard Hughes's company, Hughes Dynamics, to start anything computerized with documentation, especially for genealogy. And that's what William Gay, known as Bill Gay, was doing. And yeah, he left quite the legacy of money for his kids. So if anybody doesn't know who that is, his son's wife is currently on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Heather Gay.
Speaking of beards. No, I guess I just assumed that most of those wives might possibly be. And here's another interesting, I'm just putting this together as I go, but that Reddit thread about someone asking what apps they were allowed to have as a missionary, they said they had a Samsung. Now this review says they have a Samsung S8. Here's another reader that says they just bought a new Samsung Galaxy. So I wonder if
they changed it.
I wonder if the church wants you to have a Samsung Android smartphone for some reason.
Funny. Let's see. It says, how old is this? 4 years ago, they're saying that they had to buy a certain phone. But some say they're giving you the specific phone. So I don't know which part.
Well, we'll do I'll install these on my phone and see what I can poke and prod if I can get through the login system.
Crack the code.
It can't be that hard. I've gotten into harder systems than that before. Although I don't know. Maybe I've never actually tried to gain access to anything Mormon yet. So we'll find out.
If you crack their code, don't forget they have the FBI and CIA and IRS. The IRS, that's the one you want to stay away from. Holy moly.
So this all led from anyways, in 2019 was the last time that they published these guidelines outside the app. So I guess anyone had access to all the general guidelines and they were sick of getting made fun of or getting quoted out of context or whatever. So they're like, okay, that's gone now. If you try and go to missionary.lds.org / any of the guidelines, they all just go to broken pages. So here's what it said. And again, I'm not trying to be crass or like controversial here, but as I was going through this page, I was just like, okay, here's a white guy and a black guy, and sort of like, I don't know, a Hawaiian would make the most sense if it were Mormon, but you know, someone that's
Latin.
not white.
So
So,
many
okay,
Latins.
they've got some diversity here. And then as I'm scrolling, it was like, okay, we've got an Asian in this picture, and then all the other pictures, they decided to just stick a black guy in there. And I'm not saying that there's not black Mormons, or that there can't be, or that I was even looking for this, but it was just weird that how often do you actually hear about or see black Mormons out in the wild compared to the official
Out in the
guideline
wild.
of what you're supposed to look for? And in every single one of these more than every other picture, it's
It
always
looks like
gonna
the
have
same
this black
guy.
Mormon. I don't know if it's the same one or not, because the guidelines are supposed to make you all look like the same person, right? So that maybe that's part of it. Maybe instead of being magical, if they send one guy to your door on a Tuesday and then a month later another guy to your door on Tuesday, maybe you're like, oh, maybe it's the same guy. It kind of look there, he's wearing the same outfit, got the same haircut. So it
Oh,
like
it will
builds a
be.
familiarity
They're
with it.
assigned. So they're assigned quadrants by like where they live. And so the same people will come to your house over and over and over, because unless you ask for a mission president or somebody higher up, it will be the same people unless they get like moved or somebody goes home,
Get some
because it's
Karen to ask for the manager.
yeah, right. It's all done like within zones. They call it missionary zones. So yeah, it's very high tech. Like the
It sounds
Mormons
like a video
really,
game. It sounds like Super Mario World a little bit.
well, they don't mess around with their computer stuff. I'm telling you. They really have always, even clear back when we got our garments, which would have been 1996, they already had your stuff barcoded to go to the store and get your garments. And so just scan it. Beep.
It's ironic that the internet is also what like started bringing
Yeah.
them down a little bit. That's what made them bring the
More
hat
than
back
a
out of the
little.
closet.
Yeah, it's something else. Yeah.
And also just as ironic was Scientology. That Scientology
Mhm.
didn't see the internet being like a constant thorn in their side of exposing their secrets, even though they were
Exposing
all
Xenu. Yeah.
I mean,
Damn you.
the two religions that believe in aliens and space travel, right? Mormonism and Scientology.
Elohim and Xenu. They're probably friends. You know.
They live in volcanoes that are next to each other.
For all I know, Xenu is the Elohim because that's a title, not a name. So something to think about.
This page, it says an ambassador of the Lord, and here it just states it right there in the beginning. As an ambassador of the Lord, you are to wear professional conservative clothing consistent with your sacred calling that will clearly identify you as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Appropriate dress and grooming will help you earn respect and trust. That's kind of what con men do. And I'm not saying that missionaries are con men. I'm saying is that like this is
They're
a
porch
typical,
masons. That's all.
it's an NLP tactic that got classified by Grindr and Bandler, but that any social interaction, if you're being sort of like a sociopath about it, I guess, is that you're looking to raise your rapport with the other person that you're talking to. And sometimes that involves mirroring their patterns. If they use certain phrases or words or a certain accent, you maybe lean into a similar accent without sounding like you're making it up. And the more that you can mirror someone and appear consistent, that you're just building rapport. But if you go, and I guess this is an interesting part of like the whole mind control and manipulation and like cult leader stuff. Like Jim Jones, for example, almost every biography about Jim Jones, the guy from Jonestown, was written that said that he was born with natural charisma, that even when he was like 5 or 6 years old, he was gathering crowds of children and preaching to them and sort of instilling this. And I doubt that he sat down and calculated out, if I say this in this way, then they're going to respect me and I'm going to build on that rapport and I'm going to manipulate it. I think that some people, they just figure that out naturally on their own, and they just kind of have this natural charisma. So as a Mormon,
That's
maybe
what they said about Joseph too. They
well,
said
I,
this.
and I 100% believe it. That's pretty much most what you would call like a natural leader. They usually have some form of natural charisma, but it also means that now in the last 2 centuries at least, that the patterns of, okay, well, what makes them have charisma? How do you quantify that and write down a formula or a recipe? And those kind of exist now. Even like was it Carnegie wrote like I'm gonna make up a number, it's like the 7 habits of highly effective people, and then how to make friends and win influence and all this. All that is building up on this exact premise of how do you earn respect and trust from a stranger in the shortest in one interaction with them. So the Mormon approach is just be clean cut, groomed in a very specific way. And it's not just in me reading this, it's not just looking clean cut. It literally says here, dress yourself in a way that will clearly identify you as a missionary. So they're establishing an aesthetic look that separates you from the rest of the people. And I guess they've done that very well. Hence the whole like beard versus non-beard now, because that's kind of where this whole
They
topic
can only
came up.
wear, yeah, they have a whole, like, if you're going to go on a mission and you're a kid here in Utah, you've got to go by, like, they've got a checklist. Like, you need this many suits, this color, you need this many white shirts, you need this. Like, you can't just wear willy-nilly anything you want at all.
That, I mean, I guess I realized that without realizing it, but they're only allowed to wear white shirts. No
Yes.
yellow or pink or pastel, just
Nope.
white straight up. And there's a lot of people that complain about that still. Like, when's the church going to come around on just pure white shirts? That was in some of the pro beard forums that I was reading, where modern Mormon men were like, I want my beard, and while we're at it, I want to wear a blue shirt every once in a while.
Yeah, you cannot. And especially you don't want to wear a black one, because you'll definitely get that evil eye for that one.
Well, then you also just look like you're there to serve drinks.
I mean, true.
And about the checklist, this one doesn't have like the specificity of the checklist, but it does mention this. And this is when I was like, oh, this is Disney. Conservative hairstyle. Keep your hair short and evenly tapered on the top, back, and sides. Sideburns should reach no lower than the middle of the ear. Facial hair is not allowed unless authorized by mission president. And then it said, click here for examples of appropriate missionary hairstyles. So let's go ahead and do that. And this one shows you exactly what you're allowed to look like as a Mormon missionary.
It says, I found the list while you're pulling that up. 2 dark colored conservative suits, 10 to 12 white shirts, some short sleeve, some long sleeve, 5 to 6 pairs of dress slacks, 5 to 6 conservative ties, 8 to 10 solid dark colored socks. So they're very serious about like exactly what you're bringing in, what color they could be. So
I almost felt like this orange tie is maybe pushing the line a little bit.
Yeah, I've never seen a missionary in an orange tie.
This is, again, from the official Missionary LDS website. So I feel like if anyone ever gave you flack, you could be like, this guy's got an orange tie. And they're like, well, that's Devon and he gets special rules.
It fits his color palette better.
His complexion. But yes. Yeah, I mean, here you go. In case you wanted to know what the Mormons say that you should look like, and this is a standard, there it is. And sure enough, no one has the sideburns that go down beneath the middle of the ear, all white shirts. Even this guy at the bottom, I was thinking, like, get a haircut, guy. Like, you're starting to look a little bit, a little bit like Shaggy there, yeah.
Yeah,
says,
I don't know.
Unaccepted hairstyles include faux hawks, crew cuts, mullets, spikes, messy or permed hair. Do not bleach or dye your hair. And then finally, your appearance should never distract from your message. Which
guess what? It says
driving the bike, then
I just looked it up and it says specifically in teaching areas, young men can now wear a plain blue dress shirt with or without a tie. Money magic, blue, booyah. You know that's what they're doing.
Also, I
on.
feel like it lets you sneak up on the prey a little bit easier, because if they see you coming with the bike and the white shirt, they already know to close the door and don't answer it. But if they see some young conservative kid wearing a blue shirt and a little goatee or something, the first thought is like, oh, well, at least it's not a Mormon. Let me go ahead and see what they're selling. And then it's like, here's the Book of Mormon in your face.
And by the way, it's blue. Give me some money. Yeah, no, they totally know what they're doing with that one. I feel anyway, but whatever.
Yeah,
Very
you're not
strange. I did not know that they changed that.
And then it says certain activities require you to dress your best, or in other words, to wear your Sunday best attire, including zone conferences, interviews, baptismal services, bada bada ba. But essentially, you're just wearing suit and tie every day of the week as a missionary.
Except P Day. You have your day where you can go do. It's a free day.
Why did you
But
call
that
it
doesn't mean you
P-Day?
can. They call it that. I can't remember why. It's your day.
Is that a
P-Day
joke,
your day.
or is it really called P-Day for a real reason?
No, it's real. I'll look it up. I don't know why.
Mormon P. It sounds like a joke. It sounds like we're making fun of Mormons. Specific slacks. They even have like, here's examples of slacks you're allowed to wear. And none of this is surprising, because again, as a missionary, and if the Mormon church is one of the richest, then essentially it is just a very successful corporation, and any successful corporation has a corporate dress code that you usually adhere to. And I mean, it seems like if you were to walk into a room full of Mormon missionaries, it wouldn't be too much different than walking into some Fortune 500 corporate office.
Preparation day.
That sounds ominous. That almost sounds
you
like
have to go do your laundry, do your chores, go shopping at the store, blah, blah, blah. So.
It shouldn't be. I mean, I don't even know what I'm looking for here. What, they have to be pleated? I guess there's even some chinos in here.
Hopefully not. There's
That one's
chinos.
not pleated.
They're just showing you the colors that you can kind of wear. It's like gray.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, there's no orange
brown.
and green, and yeah. They don't have one that says like apple bottom on the back when like rhinestone.
No, that's funny.
What else? Okay, so I kept going down this rabbit hole. They're talking about LDS beards. And then this one, it mentioned that the Mormon Church Handbook does not provide specific beards or hair guidelines. But somehow the missionaries get wrapped up into this beardless look. So, here's the one that I was looking for before, about someone telling him that Jesus was actually clean cut and was like clean shaven and had a tapered haircut, back in the day.
Back in the day when it was hard to get a haircut. Okay. Whatever. There it is.
And you already mentioned this. The last prophet to have facial hair was George Albert Smith in 1951. And then David O. McKay changed things by being the first clean-shaven prophet, and the standard has remained for every prophet since. So even as a prophet, I guess you still need to not have facial hair, which is
definitely
in accordance with Joseph Smith.
None of the quorum would be allowed, like the quorum of the 70 or the first and second counselor. There's no way. Then they do these fun little things, like they're like, we don't have any rules, but BYU does. It's not our fault. Wah, wah. Yeah, that's what they do.
So here was another take on it that I thought was interesting. And the question is, why do current day LDS hate beards so much? I don't get it. Is it an obedience thing? Like, half your prophets sport long flowing manes. Why is the LDS church so intent on making its boys and men look like effing executives and Boy Scouts, and not the hooch swilling, bloodthirsty MFers that you all came from? I love the way that they sort of phrase this.
MFers. Shiz.
MFers.
It's just like Napoleon Dynamite, if you've ever seen it.
Well, the first response, actually, for the first time on Reddit, had some insight, because beards were considered part of a counter-conformist movement of the 60s and 70s, and the LDS Church didn't want that image applied to them. So they banned what seemed uncouth behavior, groom and dress at BYU, and preach conservative nationalism from the pulpit. They never grew out of that, and these policies morphed into an obedience and conformity test of the membership. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
What if it's because they're all in the CIA and the CIA is all clean cut until they have to go undercover, and so they don't want everybody looking like they're undercover all the time?
I mean, there's never anything that stops CIA agents from growing their hair out and putting on beards. Right. If you look around in Laurel Canyon and the Manson and all of that.
Yeah, so it makes it easier for them to be like, everybody else, you all look normal.
Okay, I see that. They had so many CIA agents that were coming in, they just couldn't grow the beards fast enough.
Right.
So they had to go the other direction. Okay.
They were like, listen, you dirty hippies, get your hair cut so you can look like, because don't you think it's funny the missionary outfit looks like the quintessential CIA outfit? Like when you think of Men in Black and like you see I mean, I'm just saying they look the same.
I'm saying even as a kid, I always thought that the Mormons looked just like Michael Douglas in Falling Down, the movie where he goes crazy because they don't serve him breakfast at McDonald's. And he gets like a duffel bag full of, you know what movie I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I always assumed that he was a Mormon because he had that same kind of look to him.
You're like, that's what it is. Totally gonna lose it if McDonald's isn't serving today.
Again, if I had an unlimited budget, I would make a Falling Down Mormon edition where the guy's just fed up with no one wants to answer their doors. No one's listening to him preaching this gospel. So now he's got a duffel bag full of sawed-offs, and he's going to make you listen.
That's what's up. That's right. He just wanted to have a beard, damn it. And he couldn't do it, and now it's ruined his life.
Another good point. Yeah, Satan has a beard, so you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So I guess the consensus, though, is according to like this surface level Reddit stuff, but it was that they wanted to separate themselves from the counterculture movement that was starting in like the 50s, 60s, 70s. So that was part of it. But then the other part, like you were mentioning, was to make the normies and the CIA agents kind of interblend a little bit easier. And then also this sort of skull and bones attitude where they realize not just being counterculture, but that if we want to be taken seriously and we want to take off some of that hard edge, and the next time someone brings up that damn Meadow Mountain Massacre thing, it's like, it
wasn't
me,
us. That was the bearded Mormons.
Exactly. Shit. Those were the bearded ones.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no kidding.
I think it's smart. It's really smart. And I guess this is like
scraggly Western ones.
Whenever the clean shaven Mormons start to get more and more criticism, they're going to bring the beard back, because then it's like, we're not those clean shave. We're not your grandpa's Mormons. Yeah. We're the new cool biker mountain Mormons.
That's right. I think they're getting real close to that, bro. I think that one might pop in here pretty soon. That one, and
I agree. But it also makes sense that they would keep the same rules for missionaries. Like missionaries,
right?
Sorry, different. Missionaries, but I don't think you should have beards either. I do think that you should keep that same clean cut look so someone can see you coming. You know, it's like your outfit. But then after you're no longer a missionary, if you want to become a prophet, now you have to grow a beard.
Man, that's a lot of rules. I think that all the missionaries should protest together and grow Hitler mustaches.
Technically, it's within the guidelines. I was looking. As long as you have a mustache that doesn't grow beyond the bounds of your upper lip.
No, I've never seen one. No way.
Of course you haven't seen one. I'm just saying that if you were to follow the guidelines to the letter, it's technically allowed from everything that I can see. I'm sure if you just showed up, someone would be like, get that thing off of the top of your lip right now.
I am certain too. Unless it was a girl, and then, they won't say anything because that's embarrassing. But other than that,
that's just a regular hair lip.
Yeah. They're like, oop, don't mention that one. But yeah, I think they're closer than ever to bringing back the old Western, because the whole prepper thing and everything, I really think it's heading right toward that direction. Yeah. But everybody has a beard right now. Everybody has it. It's so trendy. It's the most trendiest trend of all trends. I'm telling you. But sorry, I know you like your beard. I'm sorry. But
I
it
mean,
is.
this
Everybody.
one's like 2 decades old at this point, so
Well, I'll see. I told my husband, no, absolutely
grandfathered
not.
in.
Nope. He has a nice face. I like his face. I like to see it. Hides his dimples. No way. Mm-mm.
The one time I shaved my beard was because of Disney. I had to go and get my my cast member photo taken, and just on a quick tangent, I remember I was like, this is BS. Like I never go in the park. No one's ever gonna see me. I work in this animation building that no one has access to. The only reason that they needed me to shave was just because it like I fell into this category. Like technically you're a cast member because you're a salary being paid directly by Disney. So anyways, I just kind of kept putting it off and like finding reasons to not get my pass taken. And at a certain point, the president of our animation company, he came to me, he was like, why did I just get an email from like Michael Eisner's office saying, hey, why is this one employee refusing to like, I was like, okay, I guess I'll stop fighting back now. And I shaved. And after I did that, though, everyone in the office was like, grow it back in immediately. Like,
everybody's like, no, this does not look right.
I guess I just look
funny.
like a huge baby. I think baby Huey came up a few different times.
No.
A baby with a strong chin, but a baby nonetheless.
Hey, if you got a strong chin, you don't need a beard.
That's not true. Look at
I'll have to see the photo.
I'm sure he has a strong chin.
No, he's
You don't think
fluffy. No, I think he has a double big chin.
So? Here's another, I guess, criticism. It's all polygamy, I guess. And here's, I guess, a catching point. If you remove the blatant abuse inherent in like historical polygamy within this community, but just the fact that your religion says that it's better to have 7 wives or something than 1 wife, that's not a turnoff for me. That doesn't make me think that you're a weirdo or lesser than. It's not something for me, but that's not the weirdest thing. And it's weird to me that so many other people make that the weirdest thing.
That's why I don't focus on it. That's why I don't.
Magic stones. Like I think that's the most interesting weird version.
Mm-hmm. Or, well, I mean, honestly, why are you summoning demons? Like that one's more fun for me. I mean, look.
Can I just throw out a theory that maybe Mormons embraced polygamy because polygamy can be the scapegoat of that's the weird thing. Like everyone knows that we're weird, man. Look at how many wives I've got. By the way, don't pay attention to the magic hat.
Right. Yeah, maybe. Just like the witchcraft thing. Oh, look, I'm just a patriot. Don't look at the hung women. Whoops.
I feel like that would get you more votes, though, especially in the time
Not
period.
back then. Oh, I don't know. You know, part of the curiosity with William Morgan and that whole situation, I don't know if you know this, but there was a couple people pointed at for him disappearing, and one of them was Good Joe from Vermont, and I've always wondered if that had something to do with him rising to Master Mason all of a sudden.
What about?
Because they took care of that. Oh yeah, well, William Morgan disappears and then he marries his widow, and then one of the guys,
like Joseph Smith, had something to do with William Morgan dying.
There was a bunch of people, like there was a bunch of talk about a bunch of men that took him for a swim, you know, and Good Joe from Vermont was one of those. And I often wondered, maybe.
I just have to point out here that
married his widow.
The last witch trial in the USA was in 1878. And it was known as the Ipswich Witchcraft Trial, which just coincidentally was also in Salem, Massachusetts. And it was against Daniel Spofford, who claimed he harmed a woman named Lucretia Brown using mesmeric powers.
Mesmerism.
The judge dismissed the case, but 1878, I mean, that is fairly recent to have the last Salem witch trial about an actual witch being brought to a court and maybe going through like a legal consequences of having mesmerism. So,
And now they'd just be like, can you teach a course on that, please?
what's your Patreon?
Yeah, let me know. I want to know how you did that.
Here's just another joke of Brigham Young going to divorce court and his like 55 wives in tow. Here was another example. This time it's the Catholics get it too. Now there's shots fired in all directions. It says religious liberty is guaranteed, but can we allow foreign reptiles to crawl all over us? And on the left is a alligator / crocodile that says Roman Church, and on the right is a huge snapping turtle that says Mormon Church. So I guess I'm right there in the trenches.
Reptilian.
No matter what I was raised as, yeah, Roman Catholic or Mormon, we were both literal reptiles.
Don't let David Icke see this.
And this is a Thomas Nast cartoon from the 1870s. So
how funny.
Here again, another version of Brigham Young and all of his million wives, and you've got the cook, the chambermaid, the nurse, the waitress, the laundress, the seamstress. It's not the dumbest idea in the world if you want to run a whole society. Here's another version where he's saying, "Come along, my dears," and the door is the prophet's bedroom, and it's just this long line of young women that are following into his bedroom. Kind of creepy.
Definitely MK Ultra. Oh my gosh.
This one feels like it was meant to just trigger anyone that looked at it. It's a picture of Uncle Sam in a bed next to an Indian, a black guy, a drunk Irishman. I assume that's what that is on the far right. He's kicking out a Chinese guy, and then a Mormon.
Gosh.
And you can tell that he's a Mormon because he has a beard and he's holding a paper that says polygamy on it. So this was another thing. Like these are all the people ruining America, which happened to be just anyone that wasn't a Protestant, I assume.
I guess. Jeez. That's that picture nowadays would be a situation.
There's nothing in this picture that isn't in a Bugs Bunny or a Disney cartoon from the 1950s,
True.
and this is from the 1870s. So we could pull up examples from Mel Blanc 1950s all day long that would rifle that. This one was kind of creepy too, just because this again is Brigham Young, I believe.
Yeah, Brigham Young.
Oh no,
Brigham
sorry,
Young.
Brigham Young. Mormon, is that a real name? I think that they're having fun with his name. Mormon Elderberry. That's not real. He's an elder, but so. Elderberry.
Right.
With his 6-year-olds who take after their mothers.
Oh.
And this is from Time Life magazine, by the way. The same one that gave Brigham Young the 19th best beard in history.
Oh boy.
Another the Mormon octopus enslaving the woman of Utah. And you've kind of got this sort of like a Promethean image, I think, of you know that he's Mormon because he has a beard. So there was a definite shift there. It just every single cartoon from back in the day, though, is just all about Mormons and their million wives
and beards.
And then here we go. This one is pretty serious. Look at this, cutting gash above the knee. So here he's
that was
actually
real.
Performing.
Oh no, that was real. Yeah. This
does not look symbolic. This looks like he's actually cutting
real.
her.
No, because Emma Smith changed this for the women. So as a Mason, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys,
Don't get me killed. Don't get me killed.
Okay. So anyway, the garment became the garment when they would slash it above the knee where the mark would go, but it would often cut you as well. And they would go home and sew that piece up. And that's how the mark would become there. But she was like, bro, no, I am not getting my leg all messed up. Nope, that's changing for girls. And so I think at some point they did try to rally to not have scars. And I guess for the guys, it was kind of like, look at my scars on my knee. But yeah, it changed for the women. So
and just to clear up what I think from the last talks we've had about this topic, that this is the origin of the magic underpants, is that the magic underpants is commemorating this moment in which you actually went through this initiation ritual and you were cut above the knee, and now you're going to put on these magic underpants that have a little stitch right on the knee to remind you of this moment in your initiation.
That underwear was they would cut that underwear to make the mark, so they would go home with the hole and sew it up, and that would make the mark back in the day when they didn't have pre-marked markings. Yeah.
I wonder, did you know ahead of time? Like, could you, like, I would
No,
plan ahead
probably
and make sure
not.
that I wore something nice and comfortable and breathable. Like, what if you showed up and you were like, why today of all days I decided to wear my wool undergarments?
My
And
wool
now you're going to
undies.
just be wearing wool underwear for the rest of your life, essentially.
I think that they could do other ones themselves after the original, but this was your carbon copy, basically. Like, make your other underwear right like this, so
This seems
yeah.
like a secret that you're not allowed to share, right? This is something that's supposed to be kept inside the temple.
Well, definitely back in the day. I don't think they ever would have shared that back in the day. For sure not. And nowadays they would just say, Thomas, that is not what we do. They are made in China or wherever the hell they're made. And
I think they are now.
yeah, they would just lie and be like, that never happened. What?
Is it a
Journal of
lie if
Discourses,
they
number
didn't know that
19.
either?
Maybe not. That's why. But the bad thing is you get so many people that will say, like, to me, like I was telling you before we rolled, like, I'm LDS and I've never heard this once in my whole life. She's a freaking liar. I'm like, you should do some more reading, because I'm not a liar. This is how it used to be. Like, just because it's changed doesn't mean I'm a liar. And so it goes both ways, right? So, but yeah, this was definitely how they used to make the markings. So
I think
and the
this one
men
is
thought it was
fascinating.
cool. Yeah, the men
I
thought
think
it
this
was
is super.
cool.
I don't think it's cool that you're like cutting people. But I just think it's cool in a way of like, oh, I didn't expect this to be this hardcore. I figured it was just all symbolic, and you just kind of like, magical underpants sound fun. It doesn't sound like an old dude is literally cutting you with a knife.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, until Emma was like, listen, I know the women want to be Masons too, but we are not cutting up our breasts and stuff. No.
And little as you know, in 2024, that's like back in style now, though.
Probably, yeah.
And it says here, J.H. Beadle, former editor of Salt Lake Reporter and clerk of the Utah Supreme Court, wrote this expose of secret rites and ceremonies of the, quote, deluded followers of Brigham Young, and that this is the endowment ceremony. And this image right here is from his 1882 book called Polygamy, or the Mysteries and Crimes of Mormonism. And then there was another one. This one is actually a pretty interesting one. Has kind of this same, I assume this is part of this endowment ceremony. Close your eyes. I don't. Hopefully, this is
naked in the bathtub. This is what my grandma said.
This is historical. So
I cried, and she said, "Guess what? Shut up."
I had to get into a bathtub naked in front of a whole crowd of strangers.
She was very irritated with me. She was like, "Quit your whining. Are you serious?" And she told me that, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah.
And then there's I'm just gonna say bishop, because I don't know what his rank is here, but here's this bishop from behind the curtain, which I assume this is where the hand comes out and you have to do the secret handshakes. And then here's a guy dressed in all black with a black face and everything.
Well, the devil comes. Yeah,
Is that the devil? The devil looks like the Tin Man?
I'm assuming that it's representing. They changed it a whole lot after that. But.
And then here's a guy laying on his back with a knife to his throat on a table in front of a bunch of guys and gals. And then she looks like she's wearing this endowment veil or something. So she probably already went into the tub naked, and now they get to watch this. This would have been an action-packed day for a Mormon that normally is just like doing laundry, and all of a sudden you're getting poked in the knee and you're watching your husband with a knife against his throat doing like weird mystical stuff.
Could you imagine how
crawling around on the ground?
Like, go home from that. Like, I was traumatized with the little trauma I went through. This is a whole nother level.
This I would argue is the point. The point is that you would never forget this moment for the rest of your life when you had a knife to your throat, which isn't something that most normal people go through in their average daily lives. So
But
the
don't you
fact that
think
this would happen.
I don't know if they had more input back then, but I think before you go and do all this stuff, there should be a really good explanation before. And I know they can't give out all their secrets, but like they should kind of let you know a little bit what's happening so you don't agree to something that I wouldn't have agreed to had I known. Right.
Well, I guess that's the rub here, because if we're talking masonry, you're not even allowed to join until you're like 19 or 20, and it's voluntary. You don't get drafted in. You don't get like.
Do they
There's
give
no
you an
way.
idea? Like, hey, some weird shit's gonna happen, man. Like,
I don't think so, but in the 90s through now, like chances are you've heard a Mason conspiracy theory, so you already know that it's not just going to be, and here's your, your crackers and your cake or whatever. Like there's going to be something to it. In
right.
Mormonism, you have absolutely no idea that any of
No.
this is happening, and you're like, wait a minute, we play with knives now? Like,
No, yeah, I was shook. And it wasn't even the knife. I mean, just the whole thing. And I was like, people always say to me, yeah,
did
but
you
you
see a
broke
knife?
you no, my grandma did. Um, I missed the knife part, thank heavens. But we still do all these oaths, we didn't do the ones where we had to cut out our tongue and all that, but my grandma did. Not my great grandma, my grandma. And so I'm like, this is nuts. Like, they should at least give you some idea of what you're doing. If it's, I mean, I just honestly thought, like, no big deal, Somebody is pounding on my door. Oh, okay. The kids are getting it. Sorry. I think it's my neighbor. They do the cop knock. It's scary.
We
Anyway,
heard you're giving away the secrets of endowment up there.
ah,
What are you doing?
gang stop. Okay. And so I think that to be fair, like I was told this is going to be the happiest day of your life. You look forward to this since you were like born. You're told like little songs from the minute you can talk. Like, I'm going to go to the temple someday. The prophet wants me to. There's a whole song about it. You think you're going to just be going to heaven. That's all you think about all of this stuff. Like, and I always tell people, look, I know you think I'm a bad person because I broke the secrets, but I think they're bad people because they didn't tell me what was up or I wouldn't have made the secret. Like, I'm not a good secret keeper. I just don't appreciate being lied to. Like, that's a lot, I don't know.
This one I think was one of the more interesting, and I think this is the last one on this page. And this one shows the endowment ceremony, I think, from start to finish, at least the 19th century version of this. So it
Mhm.
just has a room full of women sitting in these chairs with like little hats on, and then it looks like they all get called. It's like, hey, we're doing a thing now. So they all walk into the next room, and then the lady meets Satan. I'm gonna assume this guy
I'm
in
assuming.
blackface.
Mhm.
So she meets Satan. Satan shows her a tree with fruit on it. So I'm assuming this is the snake leading Eve into the garden, and like, oh, here's the tree of knowledge, good and evil. And then everyone gathers under this big tree, and then this guy with a funny little apron on is like, hey, you're wearing an apron too.
I like
And then
the
they
wizard.
chase them around the room.
Yeah, this used to be like a whole play.
Okay, I mean, this is interesting. I never heard this before. So now they're playing like, chase down the terrified Mormon women that have absolutely no idea what's going on. She was just talking
No.
to Satan. And there's a bunch of them hiding behind chairs as this one guy is like hunting them down. And then finally, here's Satan again crawling on the ground. I'm not sure exactly what takes place on this one.
That is one limber Satan, because usually they're like in their 70s and they just got a black apron.
And he's wearing the apple bottom jeans. I can see it from here.
He's got his stretchy pants.
And then finally, they have this grand wizard bishop guy kind of like pushes them all out of the temple. And he's like, don't tell anyone what you saw here today.
Mhm.
And that was.
I'm assuming that might be God, like maybe God or I don't
you're
know.
actually you're right because each of these have names. So the very first step is listening to Elohim and Jehovah.
Yep.
So that's what they're doing in the room. Then appropriating an Eve. So I guess they select one of the ladies here.
Mysteries. They're
This one
showing the
right here,
mysteries.
yeah, she's the one that's gonna get chosen in this next bit. Satan tempting Eve, we got that right. Tasting the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, putting on the fig leaf. So that I guess this apron is the fig leaf.
We
This
do
is their
that still.
Masonic version of that.
Yes, we do that still. Yep.
Which in a cult book club that I did with Juan Ayala, shout out Juan, that
Yeah, Juan, come on.
one of the come out of your hidey hole, Juan, after you're done with your
Yeah.
endowment ritual.
Yeah.
That the Masons have been linked. I think this was a Manly Palmer Hall book that he wrote that the Masons put on the apron because it was an ancient Egyptian practice that was supposed to block your sort of sexual energies from
It didn't
interfering with the rest of
with
your
the
daily
Mormons.
work so that
Oh
you
my
were
gosh.
and that's why it's a white apron. It's supposed to be like this pure shield, like an RFID blocker for your genitals, I guess.
I don't think it worked for Joseph or any of them. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Well, yeah, it's because it was like made out of silk, and it kind of started rubbing him in a certain
It was
way.
green,
it
and green
did
is Satan's color.
it did
Yeah.
the opposite thing. Hiding from. Okay, so this is Elohim. Like God is now chasing you around. Like
Oh, because
you ate
no,
the
I know
apple.
because you're hiding from your shame. They still do that, but they don't make you run around. Yeah.
Satan before Elohim, and then
Satan still
finally
comes.
the cursed and driven from the Garden of Eden. So the whole
Yep.
entire thing played out as that you were, going back through the Garden of Eden, you're finding Satan and you're experiencing the tempted fruit, and that this was part of the endowment
The
ceremony for
mysteries.
women.
Yeah, of course. Well, no, it was for men too. They do the same thing. I think it's just they separate the men and the women, and then they bring you together. Nowadays, you're on one side and they're on the other, but you're in the same room. So I
But
don't know.
you
Maybe
can
they.
definitely see that in the fig leaf scene where they're putting on the aprons.
Oh,
This is
they're there.
definitely co-ed
Okay.
because you got the
Okay.
beards in the background.
Yep, there we go. Yeah, they're there. But they didn't show like the true order of prayer. There's a lot missing. But I mean, whatever. They're not going to show everything. And then you got to go, learn all the handshakes to pass by the angels and sentinels, or you won't go to heaven. If you screw it up because you just are forgetful, you're just a deep shit. You are not going to heaven. So
I assume that this is one of those secret handshakes right here.
yes,
It's like a
I'm sure
three-way
they're
handshake
teaching.
or something. Did you have a three-way handshake?
We did not have a three-way, but I think what he's doing is teaching those two to do it. And then like he's moving their
now
hands.
kiss.
There it is. Now your sister wives. Oh, JK.
Again, just another version of Brigham Young with an army full of old maids behind him that are going to charge into this battle. That are just filled with, and for some reason they're all wearing like Marie Antoinette wigs or something. I'm not really sure what the aesthetic is of that.
That I do
Maybe
not
they're just
know.
bonnets. Here's another
So
example of the blood atonement.
Actually, that's a true account. I think that possibly is the Anderson case depicted there, and they really did kill him. And funny enough, for
his
adultery,
own good, though. For his own good.
yes, blood atoned in Cedar City, Utah, because I think I've seen this photo before. So, but
And I
he
can't
went out
tell-
there. He dressed in his best clothes, and he was like, "Okay, let's get this shit done." Like he was fine about it.
I think they're killing him because he has a better beard than either of these two guys.
I think maybe. I mean, I also think it's funny, like he got in trouble for cheating on his wife. Why didn't he just marry her? Like the other new wife? Like what? Anyway. Meh.
Secret Society Mormon Danites aiming at West traveling pioneers moving through Utah.
There we go.
Were
Mount
the
Meadows.
Danites considered a secret society?
I mean, people knew about them anyway. They were the, basically the ones taking care of business. So.
And then here's the yearbook of his actual wives.
Many,
Or
many.
some of them. They couldn't fit all 55 on one page, obviously.
Mm-mm.
But he's got some old maids in there. They're really pushing. Oh, the one on the bottom right kind of looks like questionable. that might
The
have
one
been
in the
his mother.
middle is more questionable than that, but
Well, we're
yikes.
not here to judge his taste in his 55 wives.
No. But
Even though
there's
she
some
kind of looks
strangeness.
like a cone
What
head a
about
little
this?
bit.
This one right here is a gray. I mean, whatever. Sorry if that's your ancestors. Anybody. Just saying.
Well, aren't Mormons all sort of related if the timeline
Yep.
stretches back far enough? Just like you're related to the king,
Exactly.
right? That means they're all related
Yep.
to the king.
Yep. Absolutely. Like I really honestly think that with all of the whole mixing, be hard pressed to find people that were from real pioneer heritage that weren't related. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have another extreme version of this episode. We will have Jacob Isabel on. We will have Andreas on. We left a little bit of extra talking points just for them because I
Yes.
think they might also have some interesting takes on this transition from the wild out west pioneer, like bloodthirsty sort of rugged individual versus the modern clean cut Mormon. Like that was, I think we've proven in this and in previous episodes, it was calculated. It didn't just accidentally happen.
No.
There was a transition. Someone sat down and said, here's the new way. We need to shed ourselves of this old image and adopt a new image. And this new image is going to make it more approachable. People invite you into their
Well,
houses.
they were going to take their money. I mean, that's what it all came down to is the government was like, look, we're not playing with you. We'll come and take your shit. And if you don't cut it out, we're going to take your temple that you're almost done building. And we're going to take all your money and we're going to take everything you own. So do you want to be in the United States or not? And PS, we bought Utah. Ha ha. It's not state of Deseret anymore. So clean it up, crack whore. And I think that's what they did. Like they were like, oops, better get it together, I mean, but also you have to understand, like during that whole time frame, he helps them with the railroads, and then the railroads are helping by making their sugar, which was their huge commodity. They were one of the first to produce one of the worst things for us ever, which is beet sugar. And so they're shipping their products as well. So it all became part of business. But I will tell you guys, Brigham Young was 110% in good with a lot of the railroaders. And Joseph Smith himself was part of the Rockefellers. He was cousins to the Rockefellers. So, like, just saying.
Well, before cane sugar and way before high fructose corn syrup, beet sugar was the main source of sugar for a lot. And even the red coloring from beets was one of the original red pigments that got used in food as food coloring. So,
and
Mormons
they
behind this.
said we will finish this sugar company. This is the prophet of the church at that time, whether it even kills us. Like basically, you're not a good Mormon if you're not here to help us, and we will finish it or bankrupt the church. He was like, no joke, I'm finishing it. So
You mentioned something. We'll start winding it down on this. That Uncle Sam threatened, like, we'll take away all your stuff if you don't shape up a little bit, right? So recently I put out this album that's got the Monthly Mormon Monday theme song right at the beginning of the album. You can stream this for free on Spotify and everywhere else. It's called Modern Mormon Music by Sound Scientists. That's me. That's my other name. And there's a song on here called A Song of 1857. And I don't know if it'll show me the original artist. Let's see if I've got it in here. Yeah, right here. Utah Rebels. So if you search for Utah Rebels Song of 1857, I wonder if it'll pop up right here. It's about the Mormons mocking the government for making all these threats and never delivering on them. For example, I thought that this is such a snarky, sassy little song for being from 1857. Listen to some of these lyrics, though. When Uncle Sam first set out his army to destroy us, he said, the Mormons he will rout, they shall no longer shall annoy us. the force he sent was competent to try and hang us for treason. I mean, it would have been, but do you know the reason? There's a great commotion in the East and the Mormon question. The problem is, to say the least, too much for their digestion. And we're going to go up the Platte singing a musty little ditty. We'll do this and we'll do that when we get to Salt Lake City. This is like the Uncle Sam's army. Like, we're gonna kill those Mormons. We're gonna hang them. And sure enough, when they got there, they made the Mormons stir, sir. That is, I mean, they would have. Oh, but they didn't get there. Like, it's like every time this whole entire song, it's
They're
about,
like, but
oh, Uncle Sam's gonna like come in here and like kill us, and he's gonna do all this stuff. But you didn't actually make it. And here's the other one too. We'll hang each man who has 2 wives. We've got plenty of rope handy. I mean, they would have had, but Smith burned it on Sandy. I don't know what that means, but I know that this
I wonder if that's who they killed for witchcraft.
Sandy. We'll have
I'll have to look up her name.
But like the entire song, I thought like, there will go,
gosh.
we'll take on Brigham Young and Heber his companion. That is, I mean, they would have done, but we're afraid of Echo Canyon. So again, it's like every single lyric of this song is just absolutely mocking the fact that the U.S. forces actually back down. Now, I don't know how much of this is consistent and how much of it is just like them coping and saying like, we're harder than you, but I kind of believe it.
There is a Mormon war documented with the government, and the Mormons were not to be messed with. They were kind of scary. And so, I mean, I kind of believe it too. And for those who are asking on Rockefeller, through Nelson Rockefeller, 7th cousin, 2 times removed. Just FYI on that. So I like to bring my receipts because, yeah. But I do know that they were worried, and they also were super close with a lot of the Native Americans, and they would use their help and ambush people, clearly, as we've seen. So I think what they saw with this whole, especially the Baker Fancher party, like, I don't think people fully realize like how brutal even the women were. Like, they took their children that were under 8, because we couldn't kill the ones that were under 8 because then they can't go to heaven. And so they're considered innocents. And when they got the new dresses from their husbands that were like the mothers, like these kids' mothers, they would wear it in front of the little kid and be like, do you like my new dress? Like, these people were not normal. This is not normal. Like, this kid is like 7 and under. And so they didn't give their kids back for years and years and years. It was just bad. Like, they didn't care. Who parades around in a dead woman's dress in front of her kid? Mormons. Weird. Just saying. I feel
like that would have been the perfect just ending.
They also married into those native bloodlines for their, and remember how I told you I knew I was Micmac, a little bit Micmac native, and I finally found a little journal entry about this, speaking about how they would marry into Native American cultures because they knew the magical properties the same, like magic, and they wanted to pass that on through their bloodline, like their sixth sense or like ESP type stuff. Yeah, that was real. So whoop.
Did you ever, when you were Mormon, did you ever hear of the concept of indigo children?
Yes.
You did?
Yep. So, and my grandma, just FYI, was obsessed with that and genealogy, and she had these stupid Kachina dolls all over her house, and I was like, bro, this is some dark shit. Like, I don't think you should have those here. She was obsessed. She must have known. I'm assuming she got the second anointing, now that I know. But my mom kept a couple of those dolls, and I was like,
I thought that was men only.
But second anointings for everybody.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you get to go to heaven forever too. And I'll tell you, when she was dying, and this isn't made up, we were praying for her, and she'd been in like a coma for 2 days. And my mom's like, all she said was, she put her hand on her head and said, Jesus loves you. And the most guttural scary scream came out of her. She popped out of her weird little coma. And I was like, that's it. Cause I was already estranged from her because she did all that weird shit to me. And I was like, nope, we're getting the Ativan. I am done. I was like, no, I'm either going home or this lady's getting drugged. One of the two. So yeah, I
I
don't have
told
any
you,
of her
Mormon
stuff.
zombie movie is overdue.
I'm telling you, there's something there. It's not normal. So,
Well, you said that you've got a pretty big show coming up. Do you have a date for it yet?
oh yeah, I hope it happens. So the end of July.
Should we not? Are we going to say what it is?
I don't know. Should we? I don't know.
I
I'll
would.
say it this
I don't
way.
know.
I'll say
It
it
gets rescheduled. It
cryptically.
gets rescheduled.
At the end of July, I'm supposed to be on, that show that has the 3 letters. That's
CIA?
the big show. No, TFH. So we'll see. I hope so. It's scheduled, so we'll see. I'm kind of excited about
long
it.
overdue. I think it's going to be one of the more interesting ones. I think it'll have a lot of comments, so I would just either don't read the comments at all or go in with just like chainmail. I can't remember. I can't remember what the comment was that Juan kept sending me from my first appearance on Tinfoil, but it was like who's this like fat baby with a beard or something like that.
No.
And that was like the main comment on that.
Well, mine will definitely be very interesting, I'm sure, because there's a lot of people that are Mormon that definitely have not heard about, the mysteries or all the things I speak of and think I'm totally batshit crazy. So usually it's about some sort of comment like, this is a nice autism she has here. And I'm like, whatever. Okay. Wrong diagnosis. I have ADHD.
You've also got some serious receipts. So anytime someone brings up that criticism, you can just show them like, well, here's my Mormon card.
I mean, we do what we can, but I guess people can decide for themselves and look at my work. I mean, I have almost 200 episodes, I think, and that's just with me, like on my show, not my appearances or anything else. And I just think, if you really wanted to learn, there's a lot of stuff out there you could look up and just prove me wrong. Cool. Prove me wrong.
I mean, I highly recommend the first few episodes of this show, Monthly Mormon Monday, where we go through and you explain to me, a complete newcomer, exactly about the toad and the stones and the amulets and the magic underwear. And we've had pro-Mormons and anti-Mormons and all sorts of different people on this show. And you've been able to hold up your end with all of them. So kudos to that. And I think that it'll just be more of the same on whatever show you go on.
Well, thank you for that. I'm nervous about it, but I hope it happens. I don't know if I can bring my receipts, but I'm going to try. They said that Sam also has the ADHD. So just to bring lots of notes. And I'm like, that's fair. I get it. But I'll have the reference episode regardless, so people can go check it out. Because ultimately, I came into this for a little bit of fun, but to teach people the things they didn't know. And I'm not one to judge. Like, I think that, you need to look at it yourself, research the things. Don't just say Heidi has a big nose. Like, okay, cool. Cool story, right? Whatever. So I'm excited for that. What are we going to do next time?
Anything else coming up?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a King Solomon series right now with Robbie Marks. Everybody's we're on the second one right now, and he does a really good job at explaining some of it. So it made a lot more sense to me when we deep dove, especially Zoroastrianism. I was like, right, this makes so much sense now. It helps you if you were Mormon. If you used to be a Mormon or are a Mormon, you might be very interested in that one. And other than that, always running around doing all kinds of things. You never know with me, whatever strikes my fancy. But I will say my newest one for the Howard Hughes is coming out soon, and that is Onassis, and it has taken me exactly 3 times longer than I thought it would, because that cat, holy cow, I wasn't prepared for all of those rabbit holes. That was wild. I'm on my 5th book.
For a guy named Aristotle in the 20th century, yeah, he's going to be a little wild.
Yeah, his dad, all of them are named very strange. So yeah, for sure. It was a lot. 5th book. When I finish that book, I'll be ready. Just so I don't miss anything if I can, So what are we going to do on our next one?
Well, if Jacob Isbell and Andreas are able to make it, we will do an Mormon Beard Extreme Edition. Otherwise, we have a whole list of different Mormon topics that we've already kind of been baking. So
Yes.
I'll let it be a surprise, but we've got a schedule of a bunch of different topics that we're going to work our way through. And I think that you're going to be happy with them. I think everyone's going to find them entertaining.
I definitely liked all of the ideas presented, so I'm excited to do those. So I think it'll be fun. Much love to everybody out there in the chat.
Yeah, thank you guys. Heidi's busy. I've got another documentary series that I've been working on with Sean Chris from Kill the Mockingbirds.
Awesome.
It's called Under the Docks. Those ones come out on Tuesdays. So tomorrow at about 3:30 Eastern, we're starting Alex Jones month, where we rewatch 3 classic Alex Jones documentaries, see how they held up, give them kind of some general ratings. We do a little bit of critique on them. And then after that, we were doing like a Michael Moore month to kind of balance it out. We figure if we went all in on Alex Jones, then we go all in on Michael Moore. It was interesting. So I'm excited for everyone to come and see those. And and aside from that too, the Illuminati comic is finally out and available for everyone. So if you've been waiting since last December, which is when the Kickstarter campaign ended, now's the time. You can go to illuminaticomic.com and it'll bring you right to the page where you can grab a copy. We've got, I think, like a few thousand left, and then they'll be gone for good. And I think we pre-sold like over 5,000 of these things. So they're out in the world, which is so cool to just imagine. There's like thousands of these floating around, and someone at some gas station at some point in the future is going to walk by and be like, did that say what I think it said? And
what's that kinky shit he was doing?
I did that in the airport when I was flying back from Alaska. I left one of those pamphlets out on a table next to a Starbucks in a high traffic area in the airport. And I saw a lady walk by and pick it up and sit down and like was showing it to her friend. And I was just like, this is what I'm doing it for. It's just to like spread it to some random normie in an airport terminal somewhere. So they're going to like show it to their friends and be like, what the hell did I just find?
What is this earless Yoda doing? Oh, wait.
All right. Well, thank you again, Heidi. We'll see you guys on the next Monthly Mormon Monday with guest in tow. See you at the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane paper, the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hate maybe your language, your game, how they playing it well without Lakers evading. Whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out. Nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blood smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Matters not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal. You're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal. You're welcome. Yet they doing it still. You're welcome.